Guys, this is the story that is stopping the internet. Yamoshi, the first goddess Saiyan. Yamoshi, the most beautiful Saiyan, is back thanks to Goku and his request to Shenron to save the Earth in the video. And you're gonna see part 1 to 13, but first let's try to hit the goal of 5,000 likes. This video deserves it. And I count on you, remembering that new one episodes will continue to be released here on the channel. So grab a bucket of your popcorn and your soda, subscribe to the channel, and come with me. In the 7th universe, the Saiyans were catching their breath and already with their guard down because they believed that the battle against Gas was over, but Frieza appeared in the middle of the battlefield and finished off Gas by killing him. And not only that, but the Emperor ended up demonstrating that he had become much more powerful since their last meeting, which was at the time of the Power Tournament, and at that moment Goku, Vegeta, and Granola were in shock when Frieza revealed that he had achieved a new transformation that surpassed the power of Golden Frieza, and Frieza ended up naming his new transformation Black Frieza. And using that new form, Frieza managed to defeat all 3 warriors with extreme ease. All of them were using their powers to the fullest, and not even Goku, who was using the power of Ultra Instinct, could dodge the Emperor's blow. He didn't kill any of the 3 because he just didn't want to. As the Saiyans' humiliating defeat at the hands of the Emperor of the Universe, who was much more powerful than they could have imagined, Goku, using what was left of his strength, crawled on the ground to approach Vegeta, who had passed out, and Granola, who was also on the ground. He was still awake, and when Goku managed to get close to the two, he used the remaining energy he had and used his teleportation technique to teleport everyone to the Capsule Corporation. When Bulma saw her husband and her childhood friend very injured, she, with the help of her son Trunks and with the help of Goten, Goku's youngest son, who was there, took both the Saiyans to a hospital area, and Goku, Granola's request, was also taken to the medical area, and the 3 ended up being placed in recovery capsules where they stayed for hours. During that time, when the trio was having their strength and bodies recovered little by little, Bulma left the Capsule Corporation and began calling the name of Whis and Beerus, who, even though they were divine beings, had already become great friends with mortals, especially Bulma and her family, and after a few hours the God of Destruction and his angel arrived on planet Earth. But Bulma couldn't explain anything to either of them because not even she knew what had happened to her husband and her friend Goku. After a few hours, the trio was no longer at risk of life. It was already possible to see a great improvement because they were already able to walk even with some pain. And all this thanks to Whis, who was in the place where he used his powers to heal the trio of warriors. And with so, Vegeta began to tell everything that had happened from the moment when Goku faced Granola until the moment when Granola allied with the Saiyans to defeat Gas. And in the end, the 3 were defeated by Frieza and his new transformation that easily subdued Goku, who was using the power of Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta, who was using the power of Ultra Ego. And also Granola was defeated. After Vegeta explained everything that happened along with Goku and Granola, all the 3 were sitting at a table that was full of food. And next to them was Bulma, Whis, and Beerus, who were trying to understand how all this happened in such a short time. Bulma said, "So Frieza has been an enemy of Goku and Vegeta for a long time, who had been killed by Goku when he came to Earth to kill Goku, and then was revived at the end of the Power Tournament, now came back with everything and is now more powerful than Goku, who has the power that only angels could dominate, and Vegeta, who has a power that only the gods of destruction have. And besides that, Frieza also managed to defeat this guy, who is a Tuffle, and who has a power as great as these two?" said Bulma to see if she had really understood everything her husband told her. Granola said, "I thought you said that this human was smart, but it seems that she is not so smart because she didn't understand something as simple as that. And that's kind of disappointing." Tuffle said while looking at Bulma, who ended up getting a nerve pulsing in his forehead in anger at Granola's speech. Goku said, "She must have understood, but Bulma is the type of person who listens to the story and then summarizes it in an easier way for some people to understand. And most of the time that person is me, ha ha ha," said the Saiyan before raising his hand on the back of his neck and scratching it, then gave a wan smile. Vegeta said, "Regardless of what happened, one thing is an undeniable fact. Frieza came back, and he came back very powerful. So powerful that not even Kakarot and I are able to face him alone. And not even with Granola's help we could face that damn Frieza, and that is frustrating," said the Prince of Saiyans while looking at Granola and his Saiyan rival. Beerus said, "Frieza was already problematic before, but now with this new power, he is an even greater danger to everyone, and especially to you, Saiyans, since he has a great hatred for you too. And it is surprising that he did not kill any of you in the moment. But I think he didn't do that because he wanted to humiliate you two little by little. And in the future he will undoubtedly kill you. And when he succeeds, he will end up destroying planet Earth, said the god of destruction while looking at both the Saiyans who knew that Beerus was telling the truth. Bulma said, "Since Goku and Vegeta cannot defeat Frieza together, even using their full power, then you could use the fusion with the Potara earrings, or doing the fusion dance. After all, Vegeta and Gogeta are much stronger than you two apart." Goku said, "It would be a great solution, but I don't think it would work because the fusion with the Potara earrings lasts only 1 hour of fusion, and depending upon the amount of energy we use, the fusion will have its time reduced. And doing the fusion dance won't work either, since Frieza is now extremely powerful. And I believe that even Gogeta using Super Saiyan Blue could defeat Frieza," said Goku while looking at Bulma. And even having a good idea, Goku believes that the fusion would not be enough. Vegeta said, "Also, I would have to do that horrible dance with Kakarot, and doing that dance takes time, and Frieza already knows Gogeta's power, so Frieza would know how to face Gogeta. So I believe it wouldn't be a good idea," said the Prince of Saiyans while looking about what could happen in a battle between Gogeta and Frieza. Granola said, "In short, in a quick and easy way, you have no idea how to face that damn Frieza, and much less do you have the power to defeat him and protect this planet. Damn it." Vegeta spoke, "You talk as you were able to face him alone, don't you, Granola?" Whis said, "I think you better calm down, because it doesn't matter who's right or wrong in this matter, because you all have the same goal, which is to defeat Frieza. Why don't you try to ask Shenron for help? Maybe he won't find more information about Yamoshi," said the angel while looking at the Saiyans, who was surprised to see Whis talking about the Dragon of Desires. Bulma said, "It's true. Maybe we don't have a way to defeat Frieza, but maybe Shenron has an idea," said the surprised and excited woman. After all, she already had the Dragon Balls in her possession, and could ask the dragon for help, who had helped them many times in the past. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on planet Earth, it was possible to see Son Goku, Vegeta, Granola, Whis, and Beerus gathered in the backyard of the Capsule Corporation. Everyone was waiting for Bulma, who had entered the Capsule Corporation to get the Dragon Balls that were with her. Bulma believed that even if Shenron couldn't stop Frieza, who was much more powerful than before, the dragon should at least know how to defeat Emperor Frieza or help Goku and his friends eliminate the threat that was Black Frieza. Goku said, "Will Shenron be useful this time? Not that he's useless. After all, if it weren't for Shenron, many of us wouldn't be alive today. And I'm one of them. After all, I've died a few times, and without Shenron's help, I would be dead, and Vegeta would have destroyed or conquered the planet. And later, he would have been killed by Frieza. At that time, Vegeta and I faced Frieza on planet Namek. In short, everyone we love would be dead, and the 7th universe would have been destroyed. If I hadn't given the idea of the Tournament of Power of our universe, it would have already been destroyed, because we don't have the ideal mortal level. So, kind of indirectly, Shenron saved the 7th universe," said the Saiyan thoughtfully as he looked at everyone around him, and saw that everyone was agreeing with him, except Granola, who didn't know even half of the things that the Saiyan and the Z fighters had faced over the years. Vegeta said, "You talk that way, it makes you look like an intelligent Saiyan, Kakarot. You don't even look like the Saiyan who already has children, but doesn't even know what a kiss is," said the Prince of the Saiyans while looking at his rival, who ended up closing face after hearing what Vegeta said. Apparently, Vegeta liked to call Goku dumb or brainless, and most of the time, Goku simply ignored his comments. Beerus said, "One thing is for sure, Shenron does not have powers to change anything, much less affect Frieza in any way. But Shenron may have important information to help us defeat Frieza in some way," said the God of Destruction while looking at the Saiyans, who agreed with Beerus. After all, Shenron had not been so useful since the time the Saiyans met Beerus, who a few years ago had come to the planet to find the Super Saiyan God. Granola said, "Who exactly is this Shenron guy you talked about?" asked Truffle, while looking at the Saiyans. Granola didn't know who Shenron was until the moment, since nobody had explained anything to Granola. Whis said, "Shenron is the dragon god of desires, just like Torambo, who is the dragon god you met and made a wish to become more powerful. But unlike Torambo, Shenron has larger spears, and there's 7 spears in total. But if we are going to classify the two, I would say that Torambo is stronger than Shenron," spoke the angel, finally explaining to Granola who Shenron was and the fact that the dragon god that Granola had invoked before was stronger than Shenron, because Shenron would not be able to leave the Granola as powerful as it was. Granola thought, "So you've had a wishing dragon this whole time? If you had a dragon god or wishes all the time, Why didn't you ask to become stronger in the past? Then you wouldn't have died so many times, and you could have eliminated Frieza's bug decades ago. Tuffle was thought while looking at the Saiyans with a bored face. After all, if the Saiyans had the power of the Dragon God, who could grant wishes for them, why didn't the Saiyans use the power before to become more powerful and eliminate Frieza when he was still weak? Goku said, "Hey Mr. Beerus, you're stronger than Frieza in his new transformation. He called Black Frieza. So couldn't you just go after him and erase Frieza using his power of destruction?" asked the Saiyan while looking at the god of destruction of his universe, who could eliminate Frieza quickly if he wanted to. Beerus said, "I can, but I'm not going to do that," said the god of destruction with a certain disdain to Goku's request, and that surprised everyone. Vegeta said, "And why don't you do it, Beerus? You know very well that Frieza is not only dangerous for us, but for you too. I'm sure one of his goals is to eliminate you and become the new god of destruction. So why don't you eliminate the one who wants to take your position of god of destruction?" asked the Prince of Saiyans to the god of destruction of his universe, who faced him seriously before answering his question. Beerus said, "The reason is simple. This is the fault and responsibility of you two idiot Saiyans. You two always knew that the moment Frieza was revived, he would act up, just like he did several times in the past. And Frieza admitted this when the Tournament of Power ended. So the responsibility to go after him and eliminate that vermin is on you two, and yet you left Frieza aside, and in that time he became stronger. I don't know if you did it to have a more intense and exciting fight against Frieza, or if you did it because you were stupid and forgot that damn Frieza's obsessed with defeating you two, and in that, the most humiliating way possible. I will not interfere on that subject, but in case Frieza becomes a bigger threat, I myself will eliminate that worm. And I will also eliminate you two for your great incompetence," said the god of destruction in an irritated tone. After all, that could have been avoided if Goku and Vegeta had finished off Frieza after the Tournament of Power. Goku said, "But it was you yourself who told Whis to revive Frieza," said the Saiyan with one of his eyebrows raised while facing Beerus, who ended up blushing because of shame. After all, he was also to blame for Frieza being more powerful. Beerus said, "I am a god of destruction who honors his agreements, and Goku had said that he would revive Frieza, so it wasn't my fault because I just fulfilled my part of the agreement," said the god of destruction, trying to act as if nothing that had happened was his fault, and that made everyone present sigh at the thought. After the small conversation that was friendly, but became a little heavier among the group, everyone could see that Bulma was arriving at the place, and with her was Goten and Trunks, who were holding the 7 Dragon Balls with them. Bulma said, "Sorry for the delay, I had forgotten where the Dragon Balls were, and now we're here, let's invoke Shenron soon, because the more the time passes, the more Frieza becomes stronger, and with that he plans a way to destroy us all," said the human while looking at the group that was present in the place, and behind her were Goten and Trunks, who placed the spears side by side on the table. Bulma said, "Shenron, come and fulfill my wish, please." Bulma spoke while looking at the Dragon Balls that began to glow, and suddenly a light rose to the heavens, making time, before becoming closed, and soon the light took the form of a large thin dragon in the Oriental style with green scales and red eyes. Shenron said, You summoned me? Do you need me to bring someone from the dead back to life? After all, apparently that's all I'm good for you currently," said the god, approaching the present beings, and some of them felt that Shenron had a certain grudge for the fact that they called the dragon god useless in their last meeting. Bulma said, "Don't hold a grudge against us, Shenron. If you want to hold a grudge against someone, hold it against Beerus, because he was the one who called you unless the last time we saw each other," said the human while looking at the dragon god of desires, and then looking at Beerus, who just rolled his eyes and looked away. Shenron spoke, "Anyway, say what you want. What can this humble dragon god of wishes do for you on this beautiful sunny day?" said the dragon god of desires in a tone of sarcasm. After all, with his arrival, the sky was completely closed and dark. Goku said, "Shenron, Frieza, who is one of our main enemies over the years, he ended up becoming stronger, and even me and Vegeta with the help of Granola were not able to face him. We were all using our full power, and yet we were humiliated by Frieza. So we want to know if you know a way to defeat Frieza, or if there's a way to become so powerful that we can face and defeat Frieza. Can you help us do one of these things?" asked the Saiyan, looking at the dragon, who thought for a few minutes before giving an answer to Goku's question. Shenron said, "I don't know how to defeat Frieza in the state he is in, and much less how to make you more powerful. But I know someone who can help you. If I remember correctly, there are two people who could make you more powerful. One of them is a descendant of Suforigin, who has isolated himself from everyone, but knows a way to push the powers of a member of his race to the limit, and still manage to break that limit. And the other person is the one that day you wanted me to bring here to face Beerus-sama. And that person is the one who was the first Saiyan to become a deity, said the Dragon God, surprising the two Saiyans who were on site. Vegeta said, "Yamoshi," said the Prince of Saiyans incredulously with the information he had just received. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in the Capsule Corporation, which was the place where Beerus, the current god of destruction of that universe, and Whis visited the most when they went to planet Earth. It was possible to see that in the Capsule Corporation were gathered very powerful beings like the god of destruction, his angel, the strongest Saiyans Son Goku and Vegeta, Granola, who had the power of both Son Goku and Vegeta. In the Capsule Corporation were also present the two sons of Son Goku and Vegeta, and along with them was Bulma, Vegeta's wife. Everyone in the place was looking at Shenron, the dragon god of desires who resided on planet Earth, and had been invoked by Bulma in order to discover a way to defeat Frieza, who had achieved a new transformation. Shenron ended up revealing the name of a person who shocked everyone by still being alive because that person was the first Saiyan to awaken the power of a god. But until that moment, that person was dead. Goku said, "But how is that possible? You yourself had said that Yamoshi had died thousands of years ago. When we asked you to bring him to face Mr. Beerus at the time, he came to Earth in search of the Super Saiyan God. So explain to me how Yamoshi can be alive?" asked the Saiyan, surprised. And it wasn't just him. Everyone except Granola knew about the legend of the Super Saiyan God, and knew how strong she or he was. Shenron spoke. "At the time, I knew about the legend of Yamoshi and the legend of the Super Saiyan God. But from my sources and knowledge, Yamoshi was long dead. But apparently, she is still alive. And I couldn't find Yamoshi at the time, because somehow she managed to hide. And as you know, I have a certain limit of power, and finding Yamoshi was something very difficult at the time. So since I didn't feel her power, I said that Yamoshi could not be brought to Earth, since the Super Saiyan God was a transformation and not a person. But I don't remember saying that she was dead at the time," said the Dragon God of Desires while looking at everyone who was at the place. Beerus spoke. "So, the first Saiyan who managed to become a god is still alive. If Yamoshi was alive all this time, how could Whis not find her back then? Look, escaping Shenron's radar is not very difficult since he has limited power, but Whis is an angel, and is the most powerful being in the 7th universe. So how did this Saiyan manage to escape Whis?" asked the god of destruction as he looked at Shenron, who was saddened by again being seen as weaker than Whis, who just took one of his hands to his chin. Whis said, I think I should have analyzed it better at the time," said the angel, attracting the attention of everyone present, except Shenron, who already knew what the angel was talking about. Vegeta said, "What are you talking about, Whis?" asked the Saiyan while he looked at the angel, who was the center of attention at that moment. Whis said, "Well, at the time we came to Earth after the Super Saiyan God, there was another Saiyan with a strangely low power. It was as if this Saiyan power was sealed or limited on purpose, and I was going to talk to Mr. Beerus about the Saiyan," said Mr. Beerus, preferred to come to Earth because of Vegeta, since Beerus thought that because Vegeta was the prince of the Saiyans, he could know who the Super Saiyan God was, said the angel while looking at his god of destruction, who turned her face away. After all, if it weren't for Beerus's impatience, Yamoshi would have been found a long time ago. Bulma said, "Look, I don't know if you noticed, but when Shenron and Whis are referring to Yamoshi, other than by name, they are using the female pronoun. Hey Shenron, could you give me a description of what Yamoshi looks like, and what his or her gender is?" asked Bulma when looking at the Dragon God of Wishes, and soon everyone realized that Bulma was right. After all the many times she was used to refer to Yamoshi. Shenron spoke. "Yamoshi is a Saiyan with extreme power, but she is not a man as you imagined, but a woman. Yamoshi is a woman with long white hair and eyes similar to silver. And like the ancient Saiyans, Yamoshi wears combat clothes, similar to what Vegeta normally wears," said the Dragon God of Desires, shocking everyone with the news that Yamoshi was in fact a woman and not a man. "So Yamoshi, the first of the Saiyans who became a divinity, is actually a woman. And that same woman is Goku and Vegeta's hope of becoming stronger to defeat Frieza? Asked the woman as she looked at Shenron, who was staring at everyone's surprised face, except Whis, who knew that Yamoshi was a woman. Shenron spoke. That's right. You all thought that Yamoshi was a man because the legend of the Super Saiyan God and the legendary Super Saiyan always referred to a man. But you should remember that at the time the Saiyans were very sexist and thought that the Saiyan women were not so strong as Saiyan men. But that began to change because of Yamoshi, who had become the most powerful Saiyan of his time. However, the king of that time ended up leaving the legend, as if he were a male Saiyan, and Yamoshi did not change anything because when Yamoshi became a goddess, she disappeared from the planet. And so the legend was created and passed down from generation to generation until it was lost, said the Dragon God of Desires while looking at those who were present at that place. Vegeta said, That's a fact. There was never a woman who was remembered in the history of Saiyans. So not saying that Yamoshi was a woman was a way of keeping men as superior. It seems that no matter how much time passes, the past never stays in the past and always comes up to torment us. Especially I, who am the Prince of Saiyans, said the Prince of Saiyans while bringing one of his hands to his forehead. But he remembered of all the wrong his race had done over the years. Beerus said, Hey, Shenron, we need Yamoshi, so bring her here for us, said the God of Destruction as he looked at the Dragon God of Wishes, that he sighed hearing that. Shenron said, Sorry, but I can't do this. Yamoshi must have some skill that prevents me from touching her or interacting with her. Maybe it's because of her divine power or the place where she is. After all, Yamoshi has many years, and over the time, she must have mastered the powers of Super God Saiyajin to a point where her divinity surpasses even mine. So unfortunately, I can't bring Yamoshi here, said the Dragon God of Desires as he looked at everyone present and saw Beerus sigh. Beerus said, Wow, you really are useless, Shenron, said the God of Destruction after sighing. But before Beerus could speak or do anything, he ended up getting slapped on the head, and who gave that slap was Bulma. That surprised Granola, who was surprised by the fact that a weak human smacked a God of Destruction on the head. Bulma said, The only one useless here is you, Beerus, because if you were useful, you would have already killed Frieza once and for all. Now, Shenlong, could you give us the location of where Yamoshi lives? Because even if you can't bring her to us, you can tell us where Yamoshi is, can't you? Asked the human while looking at the Dragon God of Desires, who was surprised by the fact that a God of Destruction had been slapped on the head by a mere human without powers. Shenron said, Yes, I know where Yamoshi is, and I can send you there if you want. But I already say that you shouldn't provoke Yamoshi, because even if she hasn't fought for a long time, Yamoshi is still the first Saiyan to reach the power of a deity, and I guarantee she's not weak at all. So if you want a tip, don't tease her, and much less talk about her age. After all, Yamoshi is still a woman, and as you know, women don't like people who ask about their age. Spoke the Dragon God of Desires while looking at Bulma, who agreed. And those who were married like Goku and Vegeta knew that what Shenron said not to do was the same thing as starting a fight with a woman. Granola said, Since that's how it is when you send Goku and Vegeta to this Yamoshi, send me to the place where this powerful Sufurujin is, so I can train with him, said the Sufurujin, showing that he was still present in the place. Bulma said, Right, since that's how you can send Goku and Vegeta minus Granola to the planet where Yamoshi is, and while you're going to train, I'm going to gather the other Z fighters so they're ready, in case Frieza makes an attack on our planet together with his army, said the woman as she walked away from the group. And with her was Goten and Trunks, who even wanted to meet the goddess of Saiyans. They couldn't since Bulma wouldn't let them. Shenron said, Right, then let's go, said the Dragon God of Desires, making his eyes shine. And soon everyone disappeared. And with that, the Dragon Spears rose to the heavens and separated. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet Namek, it was possible to see Goku, Vegeta, Whis, and Beerus appearing a few kilometers from the village that belonged to one of the elders of the Namekians. They had appeared in that village because Bulma had asked Shenron to send the Saiyans and those who were with him to the place where Yamoshi should be living. But as Shenron couldn't send everyone directly to the place where Yamoshi was, the Saiyans with Whis and Beerus were sent to the place closest to where Yamoshi should be. Vegeta said, So, Yamoshi was on planet Namek this whole time. Of all the planets in the 7th universe, this was the last planet I thought she would be on. Even more so on a planet that was already destroyed years ago. How long has it been since she came to live on this planet? Asked the Prince of the Saiyans as he looked around and saw that he was on a mountain with his Saiyan rival and his divine allies. Goku said, I don't know, but I know that it hasn't been long since Yamoshi has lived in Namek. After all, this planet was destroyed in the past by Frieza, and if Yamoshi had been on the planet at that time, she should have stopped Frieza. Goku said, looking at sides, and seeing the terrain of the planet, including a large crystal-clear lake. Beerus spoke. Did Shenron bring us to the right planet? Because I still can't feel the energy coming from Yamoshi. So I think Shenron just sent us to the wrong planet. Because I'm not surprised that the Dragon God has proven useless once again. Beerus spoke while looking around and sighed as he thought that the Dragon God of Desires of planet Earth was being useless once again. Vegeta said, Now that you said that, Beerus, I'm not feeling any powerful ki around either. In fact, I am, but not to the point of being a goddess. Vegeta said when he opened his eyes, because he had closed them to feel the ki of all the beings around, and no one had the considerable power to be the goddess Yamoshi. Goku said, Now that you said it, I can feel several ki energies nearby, but none of them have a power great enough to be Yamoshi's, since she's the first Saiyan to become a goddess. But still, the power of the Namekians who live close by are not short. I don't know how they became so strong, but the Namekians near here have a very high power by normal standards. Goku said, a little surprised to feel the fighting power of the Namekians who lived near the place, and there were some who had a power quite high by the standards of the breed. Whis said, I would say that Yamoshi must have been responsible for making the Namekians more powerful, and alias Mr. Beerus. Miss Yamoshi is indeed on this planet, and Shenron did his job perfectly this time, said the angel while looking at Beerus, who just turned his face. After all, Beerus didn't like to be retorted by anyone. Beerus said, If she's on this planet, why am I, who am a god of destruction, not able to feel her power? Asked the god of destruction while looking at his angel, who then hit his staff on the ground, causing a kind of hologram to appear, and it showed a kind of invisible dome surrounding the planet, and there were thousands of invisible layers, which prevented one from feeling the energy of Yamoshi. Whis spoke. As you can see, around the planet there are several layers of an energy that prevents other beings from feeling the power of a certain being, and the more power someone has, the more layers are needed to hide their power. And how can you see yourself? There are thousands of layers of energy around the planet, and the main layer comes from that village, a few kilometers from here. So I would say that Yamoshi must be there, and not only that, but none of you could feel the power of the Namekians. And by the way, this is not their full power, and I should say that there are warriors in this village that could even take on Mr. Goku and Vegeta one-on-one. The Namekians would not win if you two fought seriously, but that they would be difficult to defeat, this is an undeniable fact, said the angel while looking at everyone who was in that place, and they ended up being surprised to learn that there were Namekians who could even get them worked. That showed just what Yamoshi was doing, and it was working. Goku said, So Yamoshi really is on this planet? So let's go get her. I want to know how strong she is, and maybe she and I can face each other, said the Saiyan, excited about the possibility of facing someone so strong, something that made everyone sigh because they knew Goku's personality very well, and that he would do everything to face Yamoshi and Vegeta, even not showing that he was also wanting to face her. After all, it's not every day you have a chance to face an ancient goddess of your race. Beerus said, So, let's go. I want to see up close who is the one who will be able to become a divinity in the past, and who even after so many years is still alive. Vegeta said as he walked towards the Namekian village, and seeing that the rest of the group began to follow the Saiyan. Goku was quite excited about his possible confrontation with Yamoshi and Vegeta as well, but unlike his rival, he was containing his excitement. Goku and his group were being led by Whis, who ended up in front of the group. After all, he was the only one who could feel Yamoshi's power, and that's why he was leading the group. Upon entering the village where Yamoshi lived, everyone felt that the energy of those warriors, which was high before, became even greater, as if they had been transformed. In reality, all Namekians already had that power, but now Goku, Vegeta, and Beerus could feel the power of those warriors, and for the first time, everyone felt for a brief moment the power of Yamoshi. And that made Goku and Vegeta widen their eyes, because that woman's power level was much higher than they expected, and that should be her base form. Goku said, That's her power? That's as big as mine and Vegeta's. But the two of us only have that level of power when we're transformed into Super Saiyan 2. Thought the Saiyan, impressed with the power of the most powerful woman of his race. Probably more powerful than him and his rival. Vegeta thought, so that power level of the Saiyan goddess, she really is someone who deserves such a title. And her power shows that Yamoshi is not to be underestimated. I'm looking forward to meeting her, thought the Prince of Saiyans as he looked in the direction and felt Yamoshi's power. Beerus thought, Yamoshi has an interesting power level, but I still don't feel her divine power. So she must be in her base form, and that means Yamoshi is even stronger since she is not in her divine form. Is it the Yamoshi I dreamt of in the past? I'll finally meet the Saiyan goddess who can defeat me? Thought the god of destruction while remembering the past when he met Goku and Vegeta. Beerus was after the Super Saiyan god, but he didn't find him at the time. But now maybe he can find him. After walking for a few more seconds, everyone was stopped by two Namekians who started asking them questions. Suddenly, everyone's attention was drawn to a house that should belong to Yamoshi, but the small group was surprised when a part of the house exploded. A Namekian with black skin went flying and knocking down some things in the process. And with that, everyone returned to pay attention to the house, and in the smoke formed by the attack, a woman with long white hair wearing a Saiyan combat suit identical to Vegeta's came out of the smoke. And as if by magic, she disappeared and reappeared in front of the black Namekian, who tried to shoot a spear of ki towards some people, but Yamoshi ended up holding his arm and pointed it upwards, making the sphere of ki rise to the sky and explode. And before the Namekian could speak or try to do something, Yamoshi landed a punch on him that sent him flying out, fainting in the process. Yamoshi said, There are men who really don't know how to take a no. Get him out of here, please. Let the elder know that I didn't accept the Black Namekian's marriage proposal. Actually, I want him to bring the elder to my house. After all, we have a special guest today, and make it quick. We can't leave the god of destruction waiting. Yamoshi spoke, as she turned around and appeared in front of Beerus, holding his chin. Yamoshi surprised Beerus with her speed. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in a safe and secret village on the planet Namek, it was possible to see Beerus and Whis together with Goku and Vegeta. All of them were currently at Yamoshi's house. The first Saiyan who managed to transform into a divinity, Yamoshi, was sitting in a big chair along with all the other beings present. Yamoshi was sitting in the center, and next to her was a green Namekian who was the elder of that village and a longtime friend of Yamoshi. Everyone was impressed with the speed demonstrated by Yamoshi, and the most impressed were Goku and Vegeta, who hadn't ever seen Yamoshi's movement. The way she disappeared and reappeared right in front of Beerus holding his chin. Beerus had found Yamoshi daring by the way she acted with him, even knowing that Beerus was the god of destruction of the 7th universe. And Whis found that interesting, because the Saiyans already knew about the god of destruction, and the other universes, which showed that Yamoshi had much more knowledge than Whis imagined, and the strength she hid was very great, perhaps even superior to the power of the god of destruction. Even though Yamoshi was in her base form, after all, she should be able to transform into Super Saiyan God just like Son Goku and Vegeta. Yamoshi spoke. So, my dear guest, what do you want with this humble Saiyan? Because I'm sure you didn't come here just to meet me. After all, who would spend so much time looking for me in a place protected by thousands of barriers that prevent any being from feeling a fraction of my power? Any being with the exception of an angel like you, Whis. Yamoshi spoke while looking at all the beings present in the place, with Whis as his main focus. Whis said, So, you know who we are, and you know what we are. But how exactly do you know that? Could you answer my question if you don't mind? Asked the angel while he looked at the woman who just looked to the side where the elder of that village was. Yamoshi said, All I know is that it has nothing to do with combat or ki control. I learned that from this young man named Yuhiko and his ancestors, who ended up welcoming me in the past when I arrived on this planet injured. The great-grandfather ended up taking care on me, and I remained on this planet until today. Yamoshi spoke while looking at a Namekian friend who just sighed with the woman's carefree speech. Yuhiko said, 1,000 pardons for the way this stupid monkey acted. As you may know, Saiyans are not a very social race, and most of them are airheads who don't know how to think straight. They only know how to fight, and this idiot is a clear example of that, Yuhiko said while looking at the divine beings present, who nodded mentally with him. After all, Goku was literally everything he had said, and Vegeta just wasn't that way because he was a prince, and as such, he had learned to be polite. Vegeta spoke. "You said you arrived at this planet injured. How were you injured, and why? After recovering, did you not return to the planet of the Saiyans?" asked the Prince of the Saiyans, who faced the oldest ancestor of his race, who deserved all his respect. Yamoshi spoke. "I was injured in combat with an old flame of mine, who ended up getting jealous when I first transformed into Super Saiyan God. My old flame tried to become a Super Saiyan God, but his heart wasn't pure enough to become one. Then he was overcome with envy, and somehow my old flame ended up getting into a corrupted Super Saiyan God spirit, and he and I started fighting in our first match, I ended up defeating my old flame together with the corrupted Saiyans. But I was hurt, and I knew that the king of the time didn't like me, so I left the planet. I ended up here, and with the help of Yuhiko's ancestors, I ended up surviving. After that, I tried to return to the Saiyans planet, but it didn't work. So I started wandering around the universe. But my old flame came after me, and he and I started to fight, and almost died in that fight. But I had a seed of the gods, so I managed to survive," Yamoshi said while remembering her own past and everything she ended up living because of an old passion that betrayed her just out of envy. Vegeta spoke. "So there's a way to transform into a Super Saiyan God without using the Saiyan ritual, or without facing someone who possesses divine power?" asked the Prince of Saiyans while he looked at Yamoshi. Yamoshi said, "Yes, there is a third way to transform into a Super Saiyan God, but this transformation is called Corrupted Super Saiyan God, and to get that power it is necessary for a Saiyan to kill 1,000 Saiyans with pure heart and body, and it was like that of my old crush that ended up turning into a Super Saiyan God. He killed 1,000 Saiyans. To be precise, my old crush ended up killing 1,000 children to get that power. That's how he got the power. Luckily, you two don't have to use this method, because I felt the divine energy corrupted within you two. I would kill you. Even if you are cute, I would still have no mercy." Yamoshi spoke while looking at Goku and Vegeta in an analytical way, surprising both Saiyans with the fact that she knew they were both Saiyans, and that they could also transform into Super Saiyan God. Goku said, "How do you know that Vegeta and I are Saiyans, and how do you know that he and I managed to transform into Super Saiyan God?" Goku asked while looking at the woman in front of them, who just sighed at the level of knowledge of those two Saiyans in front of her. Yamoshi said, "I'm the first Saiyan to get the power of a divine being, and during all this time, you thought I stood still? Sorry guys, but unlike you two, I've already mastered the power of a Super Saiyan God. And I say that this Super Saiyan God form that you two must know is not even half of the true power of our God form. But when you manage to use at least the 2 stages of the Super Saiyan God, you'll be able to know who is Super Saiyan and who is not, and who has a divine power. If you can get out of the level you have," Yamoshi said, surprising everyone because everyone thought that the transformation that Goku and Vegeta possessed was already the power of Super Saiyan God, and Super Saiyan Blue could be considered an evolution of it. Beerus spoke. "Isn't the Super Saiyan God that Goku and Vegeta possess the true power of a Super Saiyan God?" asked the God of Destruction while looking at the Saiyan. Yamoshi said, "Yes, the power that these two possess is not the true power of a Super Saiyan God, because if it were, you would not have come to me. After all, the only thing that would make you look for the oldest ancestor of the Saiyans would be to find out how to stay stronger to defeat the Arcosiano named Frieza. It must be in the Arcosians' instinct to want to dominate everything. It's a good thing I killed almost all of them, or there would have been a galactic war for domination between the Arcosians years ago," Yamoshi said, while looking at the Saiyans who didn't know that Frieza had a race, yet alone that Yamoshi had faced and killed them. Which said, "So it was you who destroyed the Arcosians, but from what I heard, there were 2 people, more precisely, a couple who ended up destroying the Arcosians, or most of them," said the angel while looking at Yamoshi, who was yawning at that moment. Yamoshi said, "Yes, it was me and my old flame, along with some other Saiyans. We destroyed the Arcosians, but we ended up leaving some of them alive, which was a mistake. But as the Arcosians are very difficult to reproduce, they would die soon. Now there's only one of them, and that must be Frieza. Now say what you want to know, Prince of Saiyans, because I don't like that look of yours very much," Yamoshi said as she was looking at the angel, but soon she looked at the Prince of Saiyans, who had a serious look. Vegeta spoke. You are very strong and could have saved our race from extinction if you wanted to. So why did you let our people be enslaved and then killed by that Frieza bug? Asked the Saiyan in a furious tone while looking at his ancestor. Yamoshi said, Sorry, kid. I didn't do that because I really didn't want to. I knew Frieza had enslaved the Saiyans and I could stop him, but I didn't because I'm not on this planet just because I'm safe. I'm also here to prevent the damn thing I loved before from going out and destroying everything and all the mortals and planets he sees ahead just to make me face him. Yamoshi spoke before hitting one of his hands on the table, causing the table to be destroyed. Then Yamoshi left the place, leaving everyone confused, except Yuhiko. Vegeta spoke. What happened to her? Asked the Saiyan Prince as he looked at the Namekian Elder. Yuhiko said, Well, I don't tell everyone about this, but you need to know that if you want to get along with Yamoshi and not end up getting killed by her, Yuhiko said while looking at the Saiyans in front of him. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in a village on the planet Namek, it was possible to see Beerus, Whis, Goku, and Vegeta sitting around a table that had been destroyed by the hands of Yamoshi, who had gotten angry and ended up destroying the table. At that moment, all those present were looking at the village elder, who was called Yuhiko. Everyone was wanting to know why Yamoshi had acted that way when Vegeta questioned her about why she had not tried to stop Frieza and his father from enslaving all Saiyans. Vegeta spoke. Why did Yamoshi act like that when I asked her about why she let her race be enslaved by Frieza's worm? Asked the Prince of Saiyans while looking at the old man who was thoughtful. Yuhiko ended up sighing. Yuhiko said, The subject is a little delicate for Yamoshi because it makes her remember the mistakes she made and her lack of courage. I'll tell you a story. Yuhiko said, looking at all those who were present there who wanted to know the true story of Yamoshi. Yuhiko spoke. A long time ago, even before Yamoshi got the power of a goddess, she was a student at a combat academy on the planet of Saiyans. Since at the time the power of women was considered inferior to that of men, she had to endure many things. But she showed her power and persistence in front of all the other Saiyans. Among those Saiyans, there was one that since her birth was designated as a low-class Saiyan. This Saiyan wanted to be as strong and important as the high-class Saiyans. His name was Hiroki. Yamoshi and Hiroki ended up becoming friends during the time they lived in the academy, and over time they ended up becoming rivals, with the same dream of showing everyone that they would not let their destinies be guided by other people, and that a woman could be as strong as a man, and that a low-class Saiyan could be as powerful as a high-class Saiyan, said the elder to the guests who were paying close attention to his words. And the smartest ones like Whis and Vegeta had already discovered that the former passion quoted by Yamoshi before should be this Hiroki guy. Yuhiko spoke. With time, Yamoshi and Hiroki ended up becoming the strongest in the academy, being able to even face the princes of the Saiyans of the time. The king of that time had 2 twin sons, who had been born very strong for the normal standard, and they always stood out in the academy. But one day Hiroki ended up challenging the youngest of the princes, and using all his power, Hiroki managed to defeat him. But Hiroki ended up being very injured. Seeing that, the oldest prince, who was stronger than the younger one, tried to kill Hiroki, but Yamoshi didn't let him, and the two ended up getting into a frantic fight between them. Yamoshi ended up winning and showing everyone that Hiroki and Yamoshi weren't weak, said the old man before one of the employees arrived at the place and changed the table that was broken for a new one, where another employee placed some cups of tea. Yuhiko ended up taking a sip before speaking again. Vegeta thought, I know that back then the power levels of the Saiyans wasn't that great compared to the power level of the current ones. But back then, the level of power from birth and the blood that flowed through the veins of the Saiyans defined whether they would, and they become someone important or just weak soldiers who would only serve to die on the front lines. So the fact that these two defeated 2 princes who were already said to be prodigies is something very surprising. But for the nobles, it's a bad thing. After all, it was like giving a punch to the nobles, saying that someone inferior to them was actually superior, thought the Prince of Saiyans, who had received a certain level of teaching about politics in the past when the planet of Saiyans, Hiroki, and Yamoshi existed. Yuhiko said, Thanks to the victory of Hiroki and Yamoshi, most of the nobles of the Saiyan planet kept an eye on them and tried to bring Yamoshi and Hiroki to their side. Many nobles tried to make Yamoshi marry their children, and at the same time happened with Hiroki, but none of them came to accept the deal with the nobles. Over the years, a large part of the Saiyan planet knew Yamoshi and Hiroki, but Yamoshi never wanted fame or anything like that. She just wanted her strength recognized by the powerful Saiyans. But Hiroki, on the other hand, wanted more fame and power. He was blinded because of this, and seeing Yamoshi, who had more fame and recognition than him, throwing it all away made him extremely angry. So much so that many times Hiroki tried to humiliate Yamoshi, who was a strong warrior, but a naive woman who did not believe when someone spoke badly of Hiroki in front of her because of Yamoshi's head. His old friend and rival would not be able to commit such atrocities that the other Saiyans spoke, said the old man in a sad tone, because Yuhiko knew how much his friends had suffered at Hiroki's hands. Yuhiko said, "More years passed, and with that Yamoshi and Hiroki ended up leaving the academy and became soldiers who roamed the universe in search of conquering unpopulated planets and going after people with great rewards on their heads. At that time, the Saiyans were mercenaries and not conquerors. But with time, Yamoshi reached the age to form a family, and Hiroki, for being the person she knew best, ended up becoming her suitor. And after a few years, they got married and had 2 children who ended up being killed during a battle between the Saiyans and the Arcosians. And that was the main reason for Yamoshi to face and almost extinguish the Arcosians," said the old man, surprising everyone by the fact that Yamoshi had already been married and had children in the past. After all, the information that everyone had was limited, and not even Whis knew much. Goku thought, "Now it makes sense for Yamoshi to have faced members of Frieza's race. I remember when Black said that he had killed my wife and son Goten along with everyone I loved. I felt so angry that I couldn't think of anything other than defeating Frieza, and Yamoshi must have felt in the same way. Could it be that she was able to transform into a Super Saiyan by feeling such anger, or does Yamoshi not have Super Saiyan?" asked Goku when remembering the time when he faced Zamasu, who had killed and stolen her body in the future. Yuhiko said, "After the fall of the Arcosians, Yamoshi tried to return to his normal life, but some people started to say that Hiroki cheated on Yamoshi with some noble girls, and that ended her peace, and a few years later the evil Saiyans ended up appearing, and with that Yamoshi ended up becoming a goddess for the first time. And using the power she got, Yamoshi defeated all the evil Saiyans, and so the planet entered an era of peace. But Hiroki was very jealous of her, because Yamoshi had become a goddess, and he didn't. And when the second war against the evil Saiyans happened, Hiroki wanted to become a Super Saiyan god, but it didn't work out because he didn't have a pure heart. And that was obvious, because the one who had caused this second war against the evil Saiyans was Hiroki. That taken by a desire of anger and envy, she ended up killing several people with a pure heart, because Hiroki thought that if he couldn't become a Super Saiyan god with a pure heart, he would corrupt his heart as much as possible, and with that he would be able to have the same power as Yamoshi. And unfortunately, Hiroki got it. Yuhiko spoke in a slightly irritated tone at the fact that so many innocents had been killed by Hiroki's dark desires. Yuhiko said, "After that day, Yamoshi and Hiroki faced each other, and it was the first of many fights, because even with Yamoshi's winning, she couldn't kill Hiroki because she still loved the man and would never be able to kill him. But Hiroki wanted to kill Yamoshi anyway to prove to be superior to her. And because of that, Yuhiko spoke before being interrupted by the noise of the door being opened abruptly by Yamoshi. Yamoshi said, "Because of the obsessive desire that Hiroki had to kill me, he started destroying planets and killing people to get my attention and forced me to face him. Because of that, I went to search in a way to hide my power. And with the help of Yuhiko's ancestors, we managed to create these thousands of barriers to hide power. And after years of destroying civilizations, Hiroki stopped because he saw that it was no longer affecting me. But I carry every planet and person he killed as a sin on my back. I will always carry it. You wanted to know my story? So now you know." Yamoshi spoke in the corner of the room, with his back against the wall, as he looked at the floor. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in one of the villages on the planet Namek, it was possible to see that in the house where Yamoshi lived, there was Beerus, Whis, Son Goku, and Vegeta, and next to them was the village elder Yuhiko, who was the leader of that village. while Yamoshi was the guardian and responsible for training all the Namekian warriors. Inside Yamoshi's residence, it was possible to see that the atmosphere in the residence was very heavy. The conversation between them had reached a point that did not please the ancestor of the Saiyans very much, and thanks to that the atmosphere ended up getting pretty heavy. Yuhiko spoke. "Let's leave the past in the past. Now that you've asked what you wanted to know, it's time for us to ask what you want in our village, and especially, what do you want with Yamoshi?" asked the elder of that village, as he looked steadily at the beings in front of her. Vegeta said, "Don't get me wrong, but our main subject is with Yamoshi, and I don't think you should get involved in something that is none of your business or interest, but it's nothing personal," said the Prince of Saiyans with a more arrogant tone than usual. After all, Vegeta didn't like talking to weaklings or vermin in his opinion. Yamoshi spoke. "You are weaker than I imagined. If you were strong enough, or had managed to master at least the power of the Super Saiyan God, you could feel the power of a deity without being transformed," said the goddess of the Saiyans in a tone more fun while looking at the members of her race. Goku said, "I didn't understand very well. What did Yamoshi mean by that, Whis?" asked the Saiyan looking at the angel of his universe. Whis said, "Use it in your Super Saiyan God forms, and you two will understand what Yamoshi meant," said the angel, giving a slight look to the two Saiyans. Goku and Vegeta didn't understand what was happening, but they both obeyed Whis and transformed into Super Saiyan God. And in doing so, the Saiyans felt an enormous amount of ki being released by Yuhiko, who wasn't even making an effort to do so. Yuhiko said, "The elders of this village are not decided just because they are smart and know how to solve problems, but also the elders must be the strongest among the Namekians. And I am an ancient elder, and during that time, I have already been challenged countless times. None of them were able to defeat me. Yamoshi is the strongest in the village, but she's not a Namekian. She can't be an elder. But I can, and that's why I'm the second strongest person in this village. So I recommend that you don't treat me that way, or I'll have to crush you." Yuhiko spoke in a serious tone as he looked at both Saiyans, who unconsciously trembled when they felt the gaze of the old woman. Vegeta thought, "I just trembled like this before, when I said that Bulma was getting old and fat, and even though she was a normal human, I felt very scared. But this one's scaring me because Yuhiko really can kill me if she wants to," thought the Prince of Saiyans while looking with a certain fear at the power of the Namekian elder. Yamoshi said, "Yuhiko, you can stop releasing your energy now. After all, they are our hosts, and you always complain here when I don't receive my guests properly, so behave yourself." Yamoshi spoke as she approached and placed one of her hands on the shoulder of the elder woman, who closed her eyes and sighed, making the energy that was being emanated suddenly disappear. Yuhiko said, "You calling me out for not being a good hostess is even ironic, considering you literally threw the representative of the Black Namekians out of your house with your usual Saiyan violence. And don't think we won't have a long talk later about it, Yamoshi," Yuhiko said while staring at her childhood friend, who turned her face away and started whistling, pretending the message hadn't been meant for her. Yamoshi said, "Well, leaving this unpleasant moment about my past and the lack of power of these two Saiyans aside, I'd like to know what you want with me and Yuhiko. You'll stay and listen to everything. After all, she's the elder of the village. I'm the guardian, and anything I do, I need her permission. So say what you want, and if I think it deserves my attention, and Yuhiko lets me, I'll help you. But if it doesn't happen, you leave this village, and don't bother me again," Yamoshi said, taking the chair where she was sitting before and sitting on it again. Beerus said, "In a summarized way, Frieza, the last of the Arcosians, is now very powerful, surpassing the power of Goku and Vegeta, who have the power of Ultra Instinct and Superior Ego, respectively. Even these two Saiyans possess great power in their hands. They could not face Frieza, who got a new power that he named Black Frieza. And using that power, he managed to humiliate Goku and Vegeta with just one blow. So he came after you, Yamoshi, so you could train these two Saiyans to fight Frieza. Because even though I know how dangerous Frieza is, I'm not gonna do anything to help these two. It was these two Saiyans who caused it, so they'll solve the problem," explained the 7th Universe God of Destruction to Yamoshi and Yuhiko, who thought about it a bit. Yuhiko said, "Frieza, the Arconian, who had destroyed our planet in the past,
who was later killed and then revived, and then killed again, became a threat again. All because of you two, because you didn't know how to leave someone dead, definitely dead. And now it comes to our village with the intention of asking Yamoshi to train the two of you to solve the problem you caused yourself. And still you dare to insult me. Have I recapitulated it well, or am I missing some important information? Asked the old woman in a sarcastic tone when she found out what those two Saiyans without education or respect had done. Vegeta said, "No, you recounted it very well. It's our current situation created solely and exclusively by Kakarot, who called Frieza to the Tournament of Power, promising to bring him back to life," said the Prince of Saiyans while looking at his Saiyan rival who just scratched his head on his back in embarrassment. Goku said, "Well, in my defense I promised to revive Frieza, but who revived himself was Whis at the behest of Mr. Beerus," said the Saiyan while looking at the god of destruction of the universe who just turned his face. Beerus said, "Frieza is already alive, so the important thing is not who was responsible for bringing him back to life. What matters now is whether Yamoshi is going to train you two Saiyans to kill Frieza. And at this time, it's going to be permanent, because after I kill him, I'm going to hell myself to erase Frieza's existence for all eternity," spoke the god of destruction while looking at the Saiyans, and then at Yamoshi, who had his hands behind his head. Yamoshi said, "Well, I don't mind teaching these two to use the power of the Super Saiyan God in a state above those they have, but I already say that my training is not light, so you'll have to follow all my orders to the letter. If not, I'll send you away," Yamoshi said while looking at the two Saiyans who were in front of her. Goku said, "Right, but before you start training me and Vegeta, I'd like to fight with you a bit to find out how far my power is from your power." The Saiyan spoke while getting up and pumping his fists excited, thinking about facing the first goddess of Saiyans. Whis said, "Mr. Goku seems to be very excited as always," said the angel looking at the Saiyan and seeing that he was excited to face the oldest ancestor of the Saiyans. Yamoshi said, "Well, I wasn't planning to fight anyone today, but if you want to face me, then let's fight. And you can also come, Mr. Prince of the Saiyans," Yamoshi said while getting up, but at that moment, Yuhiko held her wrist preventing her from leaving the place. Yuhiko said, "You will fight, yes, but it won't be with Yamoshi. It will be with me, because I'm still offended by the way the prince spoke to me, and I want to hit someone to de-stress. Nothing better than hitting a Saiyan, because of some Saiyans I'm stressed," Yuhiko said as she stood up and looked at her childhood friend who just gave a smile. Yamoshi said, "Well, it looks like you two already have someone to fight with, so let's go to the arena where you can fight without worrying about anything," said the woman as she left the place along with everyone else.
7th Universe. Currently in the 7th Universe, being more precise, in the secret village where Yamoshi lived for many years, and this village is present on the planet Namek, it was possible to see a large combat area where several chairs in the stands that were being occupied by the Namekians who had different colors in their skin. Most of them had green skin color, and most of them were Beerus and Whis, who were in a higher area, as if they were VIPs, and in the center of the arena was Yamoshi, who was in the center of the arena, and at the ends from the arena there was Goku and Vegeta, who were getting ready on one side, and on the other side was Yuhiko, who was facing the two Saiyans, who were at the other end of the arena. Yuhiko thought, "Those two idiot Saiyans are going to learn that they shouldn't underestimate someone's strength, just because they can't sense that person's power. Just like Yamoshi, I possess divine power, because I ended up going through the transcendence ritual that elders receive when they become the definitive elders of our village. And I definitely hate it when someone thinks I'm weak because of the way I'm dressing, acting, or talking to people. I hate even more the idiots who think I'm weak for being a woman. And because of that, I really want to beat up these two idiots. And at the same time, I'm going to take out my anger that Yamoshi is putting me through because of these two," Yuhiko thought in an evil way as he looked at the two Saiyans who would suffer at her hands and would make Goku and Vegeta regret it. Yamoshi thought, "Seems that Yuhiko is serious, and that cold look of hers I only saw a few times, but every time I saw her that way, it didn't go very well for those who felt her cold look. And I can say that their punch is so strong it hurts a lot. And I speak from my own experience," she thought while looking at Yuhiko and remembering that she is the strongest in the village, and that Yuhiko's blows affected her, the Saiyan ancestor. Yamoshi said,
Well, it looks like both sides are ready, so let's start the fight, remembering that it's not necessary for you to hold back, because we have seeds of the gods, so none of you will die in this fight. That's clear if Yuhiko doesn't use a mass destruction attack, so control yourself, my old friend, she said, while looking at her longtime friend, who just gave a simple smile, showing that she wouldn't use enough power to kill those two Saiyans. Yamoshi said, Having said everything necessary, let this duel begin, shouted the woman before disappearing from the arena and reappearing next to Whis, who wasn't even surprised by that, because he was already expected by her. When the duel between Goku and Vegeta against Yuhiko began, both Saiyans transformed into their Super Saiyan God forms, and together they advanced against Yuhiko, who remained standing, still looking at them. Goku and Vegeta managed to quickly approach the Elder, and together they tried to land a blow on the woman. But the blow of both seemed to have passed through Yuhiko's body, and seeing that, the two Saiyans began to try to land several blows on her, but the Elder did not even move. Or that's what they both saw. Except that Goku and Vegeta suddenly felt a blow in their abdomens that made both of them go backwards, but neither of them could see any movement from the woman, which surprised both of them. Goku and Vegeta, seeing that their current state was not strong enough, they transformed into Super Saiyan Blue and advanced against Yuhiko again and tried to hit a double punch on the Elder, who this time held the fist of both with extreme ease, and before Goku and Vegeta could think, both ended up receiving a key attack that sent them flying. But before both managed to stabilize themselves, Yuhiko was already at the side, hitting a punch in Goku, throwing him in the air, and then a kick in Vegeta, making him leave the arena and go against the barrier that was around the arena. Goku managed to recover quickly and advanced against Yuhiko, and then tried to hit several blows on the Elder, who dodged everyone in a simple way, as if it were nothing. And in the vision of the Elder, Goku was slower than a turtle, so dodging was simple and easy for her. When Goku saw that no matter how many times he attacked, he would not hit her, Goku ended up activating his Kaioken, and for the first time Goku managed to hit Yuhiko, which surprised everyone. But in the next instant, everyone could see that Goku's fist was a few feet away, centimeters from the old woman's face, and that around Goku's fist there was a golden aura that prevented him from moving his fist. Yuhiko said, "Good blow, but lacked strength to break my barrier," she said before raising her hand, making a great wind that came out of the old woman's hand, causing Goku to be thrown sharply against the arena's barrier. Yuhiko, feeling an increase in power coming from one side of the barrier, she jumped back and saw two spears of ki go flying, both of which had been fired by Vegeta in an attempt to catch the old woman off guard, something that did not work. Vegeta suddenly appeared above Yuhiko, hitting the old woman with a kick, something that made several cracks appear in the arena, and along with that a large amount of dust ended up forming, and from that curtain of dust soon everyone saw a dark blue aura, this being Vegeta in his form of Super Saiyan Blue evolution. Vegeta said, "Kakarot, are you just going to stand there, or are you going to come back here and help me deal with her?" asked the Prince of Saiyans while looking in the direction where his rival was, and soon Goku appeared beside the Prince of Saiyans. Goku spoke. "Why do I think that even the two of us fighting seriously, using all our power, we won't be able to face her?" he asked rhetorically while looking at his Saiyan rival. Vegeta said, "It's because we probably won't be able to defeat her ourselves, but I'm not going to lose without fighting with everything I have," he said while looking at Goku, who nodded. Yuhiko said, "You really won't be able to defeat me, even if you use your full power. But at least Yamoshi will know how strong you really are. And if you two fight with everything, you might be able to destroy my barrier. And if you succeed, it will be something surprising. After all, only Yamoshi can do that. And besides her, no one else can do that here in the village," said the old woman as she left the dust curtain without any apparent injury, which irritated Vegeta, because his blow was ineffective. Goku said, "Since it's like that, then let's not go with everything at once. Come on, Vegeta," he spoke, the Saiyan, before returning to his base form. Vegeta said, "Don't give me orders, Kakarot," said the Prince of Saiyans, returning to his base form, as well as his rival. Goku and Vegeta at the same time began to raise their power, and soon two pillars of energy rose to the heavens, one being silver and the other in a dark purple tone. And when both pillars disappeared, everyone could see that Goku was now with the power of Ultra Instinct activated, and Vegeta was now at the power of Ultra Ego, and now both Saiyans were using their full power. Yamoshi thought,
So they have the power of an angel and a god of destruction. I must say that this is truly impressive, but this is a power that doesn't belong to them. Because of that, these two will never be able to fully master the power of these transformations, which must make them weak. She thought as she watched both Saiyans using that one power, that for another one, who knows about those powers, would be impressed, as everyone who was watching the duel was, and even though everyone knew that Yuhiko would be the winner, everyone was still impressed with the power of the two Saiyans. Yuhiko thought, is this the full power of these two Saiyans? I must say that they have a dangerous and incredible power at the same time. Even more if we take into account that this power belongs to the highest level divine beings. And even though they are mortal, they got this power. The old woman thought while looking at the two Saiyans, who they now had serious expressions on their faces. Goku said, "Let's show her the power of the most powerful Saiyans in the 7th universe. Vegeta," said the Saiyan, putting himself in a combat posture. Vegeta said, "See if you don't disturb me, or if not, I myself will defeat you and fight her alone, Kakarot," said the Prince of Saiyans while putting himself in a combat posture, and at the same time looking at his rival, who just laughed. Yuhiko spoke, "Then come, show me your power, the strongest mortals of the 7th universe." She spoke in a defiant tone as she looked at the two Saiyans. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in the village where Yamoshi lived, it was possible to see that Son Goku and Vegeta were using the power of their most powerful forms. Son Goku was using the power of Ultra Instinct and Vegeta the power of Ultra Ego, and both Saiyans had a serious expression on their faces. Yamoshi was impressed with the powers of those two mortal Saiyans, as Goku and Vegeta were using powers that only divine beings like Beerus and Whis possessed. Yuhiko, until that moment, was just staring at the two Saiyans, impressed by the divine abilities of Goku and Vegeta. Yuhiko knew that even though the two Saiyans possessed that impressive and almost unbelievable power for two mortals, that power didn't even come close to the full power of Yamoshi, as she transformed into a perfect Super Saiyan God form. Both Yamoshi and Yuhiko knew that those two Saiyans were too strong for their standards, but both women weren't in that same standard for many years. Yamoshi and Yuhiko knew that even the two Saiyans having all that power, they still wouldn't be able to hurt Yuhiko. Maybe they could destroy the invisible barrier that was around her, but defeating her would be impossible for Saiyans with that level of power. Yuhiko said, "Are you going to stare at me, or are you going to start with this soon? I want to see if you deserve to be trained by Yamoshi. Because if you don't manage to destroy my barrier, I will expel you from the planet, and you will never be able to come to the planet Namek again. And even if you do, you will not be allowed to enter this village. But if you do, I will have to kill you too, and I will ensure that the Dragon Balls cannot bring you back to life," said the old woman, looking at the two Saiyans, who ended up assuming an even more serious expression. After all, if they couldn't at least destroy the barrier that was around Yuhiko, they would never be able to become stronger, and thus defeat Frieza with his new form. Goku and Vegeta looked at each other for a few seconds, and then they nodded, and began to raise their energies and advance towards the old woman. Yuhiko, seeing the speed of the two Saiyans, flexed her knees and advanced against them, aiming a blow at Goku and Vegeta, and for the first time, the Saiyans managed to dodge the old woman's blow, and then counterattacked, aiming a double kick that ended up hitting the Namekian elder, who was surprised, because for the first time, the Saiyans had landed a direct hit on her. But like Goku's previous blow, that attack was blocked by the barrier around Yuhiko. Goku and Vegeta did not wait for the old woman to recover, and advanced against her again, and Yuhiko did the same, and with that they entered into a hand-to-hand combat where Yuhiko opened his own guard on purpose, so that the Saiyans tried to break her guard. At the same time, the old woman hit several blows on the two Saiyans when they made a mistake, and even Goku managed to dodge some blows because of Ultra Instinct, but he couldn't dodge them all. The old woman was too fast for Goku's Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta, unlike Goku, he ended up receiving all the hits from the old woman. But thanks to his resistance, he was able to withstand the blows from Yuhiko, who smiled when she saw the persistence of the Prince of Saiyans. Goku and Vegeta thought for a moment, and after looking at each other, they both walked away from Yuhiko, and then the Saiyans advanced against the old woman with their fists imbued with their ki. Upon seeing that, Yuhiko advanced against them, and exchanged a blow with the Saiyans. This blow created a large impact wave, one so strong that it made the arena turn into rubble, and the barrier that was around the arena ended up being destroyed. But before the impact wave could affect those who were watching the duel, Whis hit his staff on the ground, creating a new barrier, preventing the impact wave from affecting the viewers of that duel. Whis said, "It seems that this fight is getting very exciting, and apparently it's already reaching the end. But for that to happen, your friend Yuhiko needs to take this duel more seriously," said the angel, looking at the Saiyan Yamoshi, who kept her gaze on the two Saiyans. Yamoshi spoke. "Yuhiko can defeat those two with just one attack if she wants to, but she's extending this fight so I can analyze how these two Saiyans are, and what their power level is, and if they deserve to be trained by me. Yuhiko is the village elder and I'm the guardian, and as such, I have a lot of work to do. So if those two don't show that they really want to be trained to get stronger, Yuhiko won't allow the training to happen if they don't pass her test. Many have tried to train with me, but most of them couldn't pass Yuhiko's test, and those who passed are currently the strongest in the village." Yamoshi spoke while looking at the angel, and Beerus, who was enjoying the fight a lot. Beerus thought that fight was supposed to be a lot of fun. He normally just liked to face his enemies, but seeing a duel between powerful beings was also fun. Another big wave of impact was formed, making everyone turn their attention to the duel between the Saiyans and Yuhiko. After the impact wave, a large curtain of dust was formed, but in a few seconds the dust disappeared, and then the Saiyans and Yuhiko returned to exchange blows, again revealing to everyone that Goku and Vegeta had a large part of their clothes destroyed and torn, and there were several wounds on their bodies. Yuhiko had no wounds on her body, and there was no mark of destruction on her clothes. Yuhiko thought, "My barrier is starting to break, so if I force these two Saiyans a little, they will end up using their strongest attack. And if this attack doesn't break my barrier, then Goku and Vegeta will not be able to be trained by Yamoshi." Yuhiko thought, already planning to see if those two Saiyans would break her barrier with one final attack. Yuhiko, who was receiving several blows that were being blocked by the invisible barrier, decided to release her ki, making her barrier expand, and the Saiyans move away. Then Yuhiko disappeared and reappeared on top of Goku and hit him with a kick, and then she disappeared and reappeared next to Vegeta, hitting him with a spinning kick that made Vegeta go against Goku, and both of them were thrown away, and in doing so, Yuhiko started shooting several energy spheres at the Saiyans that ended up being hit in full. Yuhiko said, "It seems that you two are already at your limit, so let's end this battle once and for all. I recommend that you use your most powerful attacks now, or you'll lose the duel, and you won't be able to be trained by Yamoshi," alerted the old woman as she looked at the two Saiyans who were leaving the dust curtain with some more injuries and bruises. Goku said, "My energy is already at its limit. I won't be able to maintain the power of Ultra Instinct for a long time, Vegeta," confessed the Saiyan while looking at his rival who was a little out of breath. Vegeta said, "I didn't want to admit it, but my energy is already reaching its limit, and the power of Ultra Ego is running out quickly," said the Prince of Saiyans while feeling his power diminishing. Goku said, "Since it's like that, then let's use all our power at once, and with that unite our attacks to end this barrier," said the Saiyan while he got up and looked at Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta began to unite their energies and then flew together with their fists closed towards Yuhiko, who just raised her hand to stop the Saiyan's attack. When Goku and Vegeta attack hit Yuhiko, there was a huge explosion that left a large trail of destruction throughout the place. That was the end of the battle, so the barrier that was being maintained by Whis ended up being undone, and with that everyone started looking at the smoke that had been created by the Saiyan's attack. And from that same dust, Yuhiko left without any injury, and that scene left everyone scared, because the Saiyans managed to fulfill their objective of breaking the old woman's barrier. Yuhiko spoke. "I must say that I'm very impressed with you two. After all, it's been a while since someone managed to break through my barrier. Congratulations, Son Goku and Prince Vegeta. You won this duel. But please, you two can take your hands off my chest," said the old woman, while the smoke coming out of her, showing that in this last attack of the Saiyans, Yuhiko had to defend herself using his hands, but Goku and Vegeta were faster and broke the barrier. As Goku and Vegeta were out of energy, both Saiyans ended up falling to the ground in their base forms, leaving Yamoshi, Whis, and Beerus scared with the unusual way that Goku and Vegeta broke the barrier. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in the village where Yamoshi lived on the planet Namek, it was possible to see that in the arena where the fight between Goku and Vegeta against Yuhiko had taken place, there was a great uproar and a lot of screams coming from the Namekians who had seen that duel. For the Namekians, that had been one of the best spectacles of their lives, because they had seen a combat where two Saiyans had faced Yuhiko and were still alive. And not only that, but these same Saiyans had the power equivalent to the power of the superior gods, like Beerus and Whis. And with that power, the two Saiyans managed to accomplish an impressive feat that was to destroy the barrier that was around Yuhiko, which was a surprise to everyone, including Yamoshi, who managed to realize that Yuhiko's barrier had weakened slightly, and that was something that Yuhiko had done on purpose, and Yamoshi realized this right away. Yamoshi mentally spoke. "You weakened your own barrier, so that they would be able to destroy with that last attack. I thought you didn't want me to train these two. What made you change your mind?" Yamoshi mentally asked Yuhiko, as she felt the mental connection being made between her and her old friend. Yuhiko mentally spoke. "Yes, I weakened my barrier because I saw that these two Saiyans have great potential, and I didn't want to let that potential aside. And also, if they are trained by you, you won't stay all day on the street hitting on Namekian men who are mostly married. And by the way, these two Saiyans are also married, and as far as I know, they already have children. So control yourself, you stupid perverted monkey." Yuhiko spoke mentally with the Saiyan ancestor, who ended up bringing one of her hands to her head because of shame. Yamoshi mentally spoke. "You know me better than I thought you would, but don't blame me for trying to have a real boyfriend or husband. And they're both Saiyans, and even though I still have feelings for my old crush, I want to live my life, so I'll keep trying to find someone for myself. And if any of those two want to leave their wives to be with me, nobody can blame me. After all, I'm a very beautiful and strong woman, just like a Saiyan should be." Yamoshi mentally spoke to her friend, who ended up sighing, which made the ancestor of the Saiyans give a light laugh. After ending his mental conversation with Yuhiko, Yamoshi began to float, and went to the arena, and in doing so she approached Goku and Vegeta. And when Yamoshi approached the two Saiyans, she took 2 seeds of the gods that were in a bag of leather that was tied around his waist, then put the seeds of the gods in the mouth of each of the Saiyans, who when they felt the seeds of the gods in their mouths, began to chew the seeds, and after swallowing the seeds, the Saiyans had recovered completely. Vegeta said, "These seeds of the gods seem to be different from those on planet Earth. Their effects are the same. In fact, I would say that these seeds of the gods are more potent than those on planet Earth," said the Prince of Saiyans, getting up with some body ache. But thanks to the power of the seeds of the gods, Vegeta was already completely recovered, and the fatigue that was in his body was gone. Yamoshi said, "Congratulations on having managed to break Yuhiko's barrier, something that until the moment only I had managed to do, so congratulations." Yamoshi spoke before jumping on top of Goku and pulling him into a hug, making the Saiyans' face stay between their chests, something that surprised everyone, except Yuhiko, who just sighed. Goku thought, "Yamoshi's breasts seem to be bigger and softer than Chi-Chi's, but the feeling of having them on my face is not so different." The Saiyan thought when remembering the feeling of having his face between his wife's breasts, and at the same time Goku compared the feeling of being among them. After a few seconds, Yamoshi stopped hugging Goku, making him take his face away from her breasts, and in doing so, Goku showed a slightly confused and even innocent expression in a way. After that accident, Goku and Vegeta, along with the rest of the group, went to Yamoshi's house, where the ancestor of the Saiyans said she would train the two Saiyans, but both needed a combat suit like her. Yamoshi then had an idea and said, "Goku and Vegeta, I need your body measurements," said Saiyan Yamoshi. Yuhiko, who had understood Yamoshi's intention, said, "Goku and Vegeta, you can go to the room where the Namekians will take your measurements," said Yuhiko, looking at the Saiyans, and then at Yamoshi. Yamoshi didn't like her friend's idea and interfered, saying, "I'll do that myself, Yuhiko," Yamoshi said with a smile on her face. Yuhiko knew very well that Yamoshi just wanted to take the Saiyans' measurements so she could touch their bodies. Goku didn't mind having his body touched by Yamoshi, and didn't even feel strange when he was touched. But Vegeta, on the other hand, didn't like being touched by his ancestor. Vegeta loved Bulma and wouldn't betray her under any circumstances, and Yamoshi took full advantage of that situation to be able to touch the body of the two Saiyans, until Yuhiko ended up getting in the middle, taking the Saiyan from that place. And then Yuhiko took the body measurements of the Saiyans, but this time it was in a professional way. After several minutes, it was possible to see Goku and Vegeta wearing new combat suits that the Saiyans normally used, at the same time when Yamoshi lived in the planet of the Saiyans. Goku had a white model, and Vegeta had a dark purple model, which in Yamoshi's opinion would match the ultimate technique they used when they were fighting Yuhiko. Goku said, "Aren't those clothes too tight? I can feel that this outfit is very tight on my body, and it could end up hindering my movements when I fight," asked the Saiyan while looking at his costume, and saw that it was super tight on his body. Yamoshi said, "Quite the contrary, my dear Saiyan. These clothes will help you a lot when training, and they are excellent for long training, where you will sweat a lot. And the more you sweat and wet your clothes, with sweat the heavier these clothes will become, which will make training for both of you even more difficult." Yamoshi spoke with a smile on her face, and at the same time with a more serious look. In reality, she had made those clothes for another reason. Yuhiko thought, did Yamoshi create those clothes to be useful in her training with the Saiyans? It looks like she even thought about it. Yamoshi made these clothes with the aim of looking at the Saiyans' bodies, and because it's too tight, you can even see the curves of their muscles, and surely Yamoshi did it on purpose. Yuhiko thought as she looked at his childhood friend that even though she didn't show it, she was happy to see that the Saiyans were wearing those costumes that could be considered revealing enough. Yamoshi thought, I'm going to love training these two Saiyans, especially the one called Son Goku, who seems to be the most innocent. He'll be the easiest to fall for my charms. Yamoshi thought as she looked at Goku and Vegeta, who were warming up in their new training clothes. Yamoshi said, now that you two are properly dressed to be trained by me, let's start our training. We'll train in the weather room of the village, where the weather and the gravity inside is greater than out here, and the climate of the thermal sensation can vary suddenly, so you can suffer from extreme cold 1 second, and the next you'll be dying of heat. I guarantee it is very different, and much more difficult than the room of time on the planet where you live. Yamoshi spoke as she warned the two Saiyans about where they would train, which in this case would be the room of time, but that this room was different from the one the two Saiyans knew. Vegeta spoke. So what are we waiting for to start training? The sooner we start our training, the faster Kakarot and I will be able to return to planet Earth and go after Frieza to put an end to that damn thing once and for all. And now I have the power of a god of destruction. I will destroy Frieza using the power of destruction that I also possess, and that way Frieza will never again be a problem for us or for anyone else. Vegeta said, looking at Yamoshi, who just smiled at him, making the Prince of Saiyans blush slightly, and this made Yamoshi chuckle. Yamoshi said, I can see that you are very excited, so let's start our training. Before we start, I must say that you are going to go through a real hell on Earth. In fact, I need you to transform into your Super Saiyan God forms and keep it activated throughout our training. And don't leave this transformation, because to become more powerful and manage to evolve your forms from Super Saiyan God to true Super Saiyan God, you'll need to do this. Now let's start our training at once. Yamoshi spoke while looking at the two Saiyans, who had a big smile on their faces. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in the Room of Time on the planet Namek, where Yuhiko was the Elder and Yamoshi the Guardian of the planet, it was possible to see that everyone was living their lives peacefully after witnessing Son Goku and Vegeta's fight against Yuhiko. This fight surprised everyone because in the view of the Namekians, Son Goku and Vegeta had surprising and unbelievable power. The Saiyans had the powers of higher level gods like Beerus and Whis. Now in the view of Beerus and Whis, Yuhiko's power was surprisingly tall. Both knew another Namekian with great power, and his name was Piccolo. But Beerus and Whis did not know how strong a Namekian could be, and Yuhiko managed to show the power level of that race that had extremely great potential. Unlike the Namekians who had seen the fight a few hours ago, years had passed for Goku and Vegeta as they were in the Room of Time, where time passed much faster than in the world outside this room. But even with time passing quickly, none of the two Saiyans got older because that Room of Time had the ability to stop the age of the individuals that were inside it. And because of that, it didn't matter the time that Goku and Vegeta spent inside the Room of Time, neither of them would get older. Yamoshi, during all the years she was training Son Goku and Vegeta inside the Room of Time, the ancestor of the Saiyans trained the two with an iron fist, where several times Yamoshi faced the two Saiyans and humiliated them in the process. Goku and Vegeta never succeeded, nor even touched her or made any kind of scratch on Yamoshi, who took advantage of every occasion to provoke flirting or even touching their bodies. When Yamoshi dodged the Saiyans' attack, she took the opportunity to touch their bodies. Goku began to find strange the actions of Yamoshi. Vegeta ended up feeling ashamed. He even complained to his ancestor that she pretended to be innocent every time Vegeta spoke about it. After several hours on the Namekian planet and several years in the Room of Time, Goku and Vegeta finally left the room of time together with Yamoshi, who had a big smile on her face, and she had enjoyed training the two Saiyans in the room of time. Yamoshi took as much time as possible to harass the two Saiyans. Most of the time, Goku didn't say anything. When he asked why Yamoshi was doing that, she made up some excuse about being part of the training, and that excuse always worked with Goku. Already with Vegeta, every time Yamoshi was going to attack him, the Prince of Saiyans managed to escape. Yuhiko said, "How was the beginning of the training of these two Saiyans to be able to awaken the power of the perfect Super Saiyan God?" asked the village elder as she looked at Yamoshi, and upon hearing that, Goku and Vegeta widened their eyes and looked at the elder. Goku and Vegeta spoke. "Start of training?" asked both Saiyans, surprised, as at the same time they were scared with the training. After all, if what Goku and Vegeta went through was just the beginning, they didn't even want to know what the rest would be like. Yamoshi said, "It's obvious that what you went through was just the beginning. Did you think that the training you did was the training I did to master the power of Super Saiyan God, and thereby achieve the power of perfect Super Saiyan God? Because if you think so, then you two are sorely mistaken." Yamoshi spoke in an amused tone, as she looked at Goku and Vegeta's disbelieving faces. Goku thought, if this was just the beginning, then the rest of the training will be much more difficult, and even though I enjoy training and fighting, this Yamoshi training will definitely end up killing me, or leaving me very injured, thought the Saiyan, feeling a shiver up his spine when he saw that Yamoshi was looking at him. Beerus said, "It seems that the training had an effect, because I could feel the increase in power of Goku and Vegeta from afar. And I must say that you two must be much stronger now," said the God of Destruction, who arrived, flying to the next place from Whis, who had his usual discreet smile. Whis said, "The bodies of Mr. Goku and Mr. Vegeta did not get to age, but the hair and beard of the two grew. And not only that, but Vegeta and Goku's training suit is destroyed due to constant training," said the angel when noticing the appearance and state of Goku and Vegeta. Even though Goku and Vegeta had not gotten older, their hair, beard, and mustache ended up growing, and Goku, noticing that, started smoothing his own beard. And not only that, but both Saiyans' training suits were well destroyed, almost revealing their entire body. The main parts were still covered, to Yamoshi's misfortune. Yuiko thought, "That perverted Yamoshi doesn't change ever. It seems that no matter how many centuries Yamoshi lives, she will never change this way of being. In reality, I don't even want Yamoshi to change. I prefer that she keep this perverted personality of hers, because this personality of Yamoshi is much better than the old personality she had. Before being betrayed, Yamoshi was a brutal and merciless Saiyan. And after she discovered the betrayal, Yamoshi was depressed, sad, and guilty for the deaths caused by the man she loved so much in the past. I didn't know any of those personalities, but from what my father said, Yamoshi wasn't very nice at the time," the old woman thought while looking at her childhood friend. The old woman ended up smiling even though she didn't like the way Yamoshi acted. Yuhiko liked having Yamoshi as a best friend. Beerus said, "I think you didn't leave the room of time just to fix your clothes, cut your hair, trim your beard, mustache, and eat, did you? I think you must have achieved something in the time you've been training," asked the God of Destruction, already knowing that Goku and Vegeta must have achieved something besides the increase in power. Yamoshi said, "Since the God of Destruction wants to see the progress of you two, then you can transform into the first stage of the perfect Super Saiyan God," said the Saiyan ancestor while looking at Goku and Vegeta, who looked at each other before doing what Yamoshi had asked. Upon receiving permission from Yamoshi, Goku and Vegeta moved away from each other, and then the two Saiyans returned to their base forms. They took a deep breath and concentrated. After a few seconds, Goku and Vegeta transformed back into their Super Saiyan God forms, and with that their energy began to increase rapidly, and with the rise in power of both Saiyans, bolts made of flames began to appear around them, and suddenly, flames came out of Goku and Vegeta's eyes, and their hair remained red, but with some strands in a more orange tone similar to fire. Whis said, "Wow, the power of Mr. Goku and Mr. Vegeta in this form surpasses even the power of Mr. Goku using Super Saiyan Blue with Kaioken. And Master Vegeta using Super Saiyan Blue Revolution," said the angel, surprised to see that new form that Goku and Vegeta were using. This form was much superior to the old power of the Super Saiyan God. Beerus spoke. "Just by looking at it, you can see that this transformation is much more powerful than that of the other Super Saiyan God transformation. But isn't this still the perfect form of the last stage of the Super Saiyan God transformation?" asked the God of Destruction while looking at the two Saiyans. Then Beerus looked at Yamoshi. Yamoshi said, "No, This one is just the first stage of the perfect Super Saiyan God form. In total, there are 4 stages before reaching the true Super Saiyan God transformation, and this one is just the first stage, so you can expect to see the true power of the perfect Super Saiyan God. Yamoshi spoke slightly proud of the transformation she mastered, and that she was now teaching the 2 Saiyans to master as well. Vegeta said, "This new stage of the Super Saiyan God is really powerful, but I still can't feel Yamoshi's divine power, and that's something very strange," said the Prince of Saiyans while looking at the ancestor of his race. Goku said, "True. So far I haven't been able to feel Yamoshi's power either. I thought it was because Vegeta and I weren't in our God forms, but even transformed into Super Saiyan God, we both still couldn't feel Yamoshi's power. Why can't we feel its power when we're already in our divine forms?" asked the Saiyan while looking at Yamoshi that she thought a little before answering. Yamoshi said, "You can't feel my power because I'm using this enchanted ring that prevents people from feeling my power. Only Beerus and Whis can feel my power because they have a better domain over ki perception. But relax, you two will learn this in the future. Now let's rest a little before we go back to training," said the ancestor of the Saiyans, who looked at the 2 Saiyans, who upon hearing that, Goku and Vegeta returned to their base form. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in Yamoshi's house, which was located next to Yuhiko's house, it was possible to see that in the kitchen were Goku, Vegeta, and Yamoshi, who at that moment were eating tons of food, while Beerus, Whis, and Yuhiko were sitting at the table near the kitchen eating like civilized people. Unlike the 3 Saiyans who were eating as if they were the last time they were doing that, everyone at the place except the Saiyans were still surprised at the power that Son Goku and Vegeta possessed when they managed to transform into Super Saiyan God. Beerus said, "This new transformation of Goku and Vegeta seemed to be very strong, but it still doesn't come close to the power that the 2 have, when they have the power of Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego activated. And even using that power, neither of them was able to withstand Frieza's first attack in his new transformation. And even though the 2 were already tired because of their previous fights against Gas and Granola, Goku and Vegeta were still at maximum energy. And even they weren't able to withstand more than just a few hits from Frieza. I doubt Goku and Vegeta managed to even touch Frieza." Beerus spoke while looking at the 2 Saiyans and comparing their power with Frieza's, and even removing the unfavorable conditions that we're in at the moment. Goku and Vegeta wouldn't be able to survive the Emperor's power, or that's what Beerus thought. Whis said, "I must say I agree with you, Mr. Beerus. Mr. Goku and Mr. Vegeta, even using their maximum power currently, they would not be able to defeat Frieza. But if Goku and Vegeta can master the true power of Super Saiyan God and reach the perfect stage, they should be able to face Frieza and defeat him. And as Mr. Vegeta himself said, when Frieza is defeated, Vegeta will use the power of destruction he has to erase Frieza's existence forever. So we will never have to worry about him again. And Mr. Beerus won't have to keep training in secret to be stronger in case Frieza tries to kill him in the future to take the post of God of Destruction from Mr. Beerus," said the angel while drinking tea in a calm way. But because of the angel's speech, Beerus ended up spitting out his tea that he was drinking, and the rest of the group stopped what they were doing and looked at Beerus and Whis. Goku said, "How so? Is Mr. Beerus training in secret because he's afraid of being killed and losing his post of God of Destruction of the 7th universe to Frieza?" asked the Saiyan while he stopped eating a giant piece of meat, and looked at Beerus, who ended up with a big nerve pulsing in his head because of the way the Saiyan ended up speaking. Beerus said, "I'm not afraid of Frieza. I just went back to training because I needed to. And I know that damn Frieza wants my God of Destruction post, and I know he'll do anything to get it. But the main reason I went back to training is because the other Gods of Destruction are training to get stronger to be able to face the possible threats that could leave the universe in chaos. Because somehow some beings from an alternate dimension managed to come to our dimension, and they are starting to cause chaos in the universes. And as far as we know, there is at least one of these beings in each universe, including ours. But Whis and I still haven't found that being," said the God of Destruction of the 7th universe, irritated by the way Goku had spoken. But what caught everyone's attention was the fact that there are other dimensions and beings coming from them and creating chaos in all 12 universes of their dimension. Vegeta thought, "That worm Frieza really wants to take Beerus' post as the God of Destruction. But that post as the future God of Destruction of the 7th universe is mine," thought the Prince of the Saiyans angrily, because someone like Frieza wanted to take the post of future God of Destruction that already belonged to him. since the moment Vegeta was trained by Beerus to get the power of destruction. Vegeta said, "If Frieza's insect wasn't enough causing problems, now there are beings coming from other dimensions to our dimension to search and destroy us. Do you not know who the individual who came to our dimension is? Do you even know how many beings came to the 7th universe?" asked the Prince of Saiyan, looking at Whis and Beerus, who thought for a few seconds. Whis said, "From what I felt during the last few days, I know there must be at least 5 individuals from another dimension who are here in the 7th universe. But at some time, one of them ended up being killed by someone who must live near this planet, or he lives here on Namek," said the angel before looking at Yuhiko, who looked at Yamoshi. Yamoshi said, "If you're talking about a boy with the face of a lion who had a very strange energy, then I was responsible for killing him. And I say that boy was really annoying to face. In reality, I didn't kill him. I just made the boy very wounded, and Yuhiko used one of her techniques to seal that boy in a crystal. Then I destroyed the crystal with him inside. So I could say that the lion-faced boy is really dead or not, doesn't matter to me," Yamoshi said before going back to eating a big piece of steak from some animal that had green meat. Beerus said, "So, you already managed to face one of them. How strong was he?" asked the god of destruction while looking at the ancestor of the Saiyans who was eating peacefully. Yamoshi spoke. "Strong enough to make me take that fight seriously, but weak enough to not make me transform into Super Saiyan God. Only according to that guy, he was the weakest of his group. The others were as strong as the gods, so I would say that the strongest of that group is as strong as Beerus, or they think so. But in my opinion, they are very weak, because their bodies are still adjusting to the dimension change. So I recommend going after them right before these beings get stronger. And if possible, go after someone who knows how to use some techniques that allow you to seal other beings, since their bodies and energy are still stable. So sealing these beings should be easy when you throw them somewhere, or use the power of destruction to erase their existence along with the seal," said the ancestor of the Saiyans, looking at Beerus, who stayed happy with that information. After all, he knew someone who had the ability to seal other beings, and he would be very useful at that moment. Yuhiko said, "When that guy with the face of a lion invaded the village, I found it strange that he hadn't been detected by the barrier. But later I memorized his energy and reinforced the barrier. And now any being that has energy similar to his will be detected by the barrier. So I think this should be useful for you because this crystal has some energy that the lion-faced guy had. So it will be good for you to take and be able to track these beings using the rest of the energy," said the elder of the village, making a crystal appear out of nowhere. Then Yuhiko throws it to Whis, who caught it still in the air. Whis said, "This will be very useful for me and the other angels because we can create a tracking device to find beings from another dimension. I thank you on my behalf and on behalf of all other divine beings, including my father, the High Priest," said the angel, thanking him. After all, thanks to Yuhiko and Yamoshi, the angel could find all beings from other dimensions. Goku said, "Leaving that subject aside, I'd like to know why Vegeta and I can feel Beerus' power and not Yamoshi's. Is Yamoshi stronger than Mr. Beerus by any chance?" asked the Saiyan while looking at his ancestor, and then at Beerus. Yamoshi said, "You can feel Beerus' power, but only the power that he allows you to feel, because his full power neither of you can really feel. And you can't feel my power because I know how to hide it very well. And I also have the enchanted item that hides my divine ki, as I said before. But if you want, I can release some of it," said the ancestor, looking at Goku and Vegeta, who ended up looking at Beerus, who gave a slight smile, when he saw that now they knew that the power of the two Saiyans felt was not the full power of Beerus. Then the two turned to look at Yamoshi. Goku said, "If possible, we'd like to know how strong you are, or at least feel a little of your power," said the Saiyan to Yamoshi. Yamoshi, hearing that, sighed and began to release a little of her power, making Goku and Vegeta fall to their knees when they felt the aura of the ancestor over their bodies. Both Saiyans had one hand on their necks, trying to get air, because the force that was on top of Goku and Vegeta was so big that the two Saiyans couldn't breathe, and because of that, Goku and Vegeta ended up passing out. Yamoshi spoke. "I think I overdid it," Yamoshi spoke as she scratched the back of her neck and stopped releasing the energy. Currently on the 7th universe, more precisely in the house where Yamoshi lived in the hidden village on the planet Namek, it was possible to see that Goku and Vegeta were lying on 2 mattresses on the floor of the living room. The Saiyans were resting after being knocked out by Yamoshi, who only demonstrated some of her power. But even Yamoshi showed just a little of her power. It was enough to make both Saiyans lose consciousness and fall to the ground. Minutes after Yuhiko had placed 2 mattresses in the room, Yamoshi then placed both Saiyans on the mattresses to rest. Goku and Vegeta were tired from their last training with Yamoshi. After several hours sleeping, Goku and Vegeta started to wake up, and Vegeta, after waking up from his sleep, he sat on the mattress and looked towards the kitchen where Yamoshi was eating something. And judging by the amount of empty and dirty dishes, she should already be eating for some time. Yamoshi said, "I thought I had killed you two because of the pressure my power put on your bodies. You ended up falling when I released a little of my power. I should have told you two to transform into Super Saiyan God, so that you wouldn't pass out so easily when you felt a fraction of my power. I took it easy and you still passed out." Yamoshi spoke with a smile on her face as she looked at the Prince of Saiyans, who was embarrassed by that. But even though he didn't like it, Vegeta knew he was too weak. Vegeta said, "Thanks again for throwing it in my face that me and Kakarot are very weak compared to you, Yamoshi," said the Prince of Saiyans in a bitter tone. Vegeta didn't like to admit that he was weaker than someone. Yamoshi said, "Wake your friend so we can go back to the room of time and continue the training of you two. After all, you've rested too much, and I don't have so much time to waste with you slacking off," Yamoshi said while looking at the Prince of the Saiyans, who followed Yamoshi's orders. Vegeta said, "Wait, why is Kakarot wearing new clothes? Actually, why am I wearing new clothes? I don't remember having changed before I passed out," asked the Prince of Saiyans, confused and surprised by the fact that he was wearing a completely new training suit, different from the destroyed suit he was using before. Yamoshi said, "Well, you two were knocked out and I didn't want to waste time, so when Yuhiko left to do her work as an elder and Beerus and the Angel Whis left to take care of beings from other dimensions, I ended up exchanging you two. So, you're welcome," Yamoshi said with a slight smile on her face, while looking maliciously at Vegeta, who ended up getting embarrassed, and he realized that the clothes he and Goku were wearing were tight, and because of that the Prince of Saiyans ended up not wearing any clothes underneath. Vegeta thought, "If Bulma finds out something like that, I'll definitely be sleeping on the couch for several weeks, and I hate sleeping on the couch," thought the Prince of Saiyans, imagining his wife's look of fury, in case she discovered that. And even though Vegeta was a strong Saiyan, he was afraid of his wife when she was angry or jealous. After leaving his thoughts, Vegeta woke up his Saiyan rival, who was sleeping very peacefully. Vegeta, knowing how Goku was difficult to wake up, the Prince of Saiyans ended up hitting Goku in the stomach, making him wake up immediately, and Yamoshi, who was watching that, thought the relation between those two was based on rivalry and hatred, and apparently Vegeta was the hater in that relationship. Yamoshi thought, "These two remind me of the rivalry I had with my Saiyan friends, who helped me become a goddess for the first time. Those times were good. Back then I had friends, and I also had a family, but that's in the past, and I want to leave it in the past." Yamoshi thought a little wistfully as she thought about the past where things were easier for Yamoshi, and there was no one there either chasing to kill her back then. Yamoshi said, "Now that you're awake, it's time to go train, but this time you two will fight against some of the elite soldiers of this village. Let's see if you're really stronger," Yamoshi said, walking out of her house, and the two Saiyans, seeing that, began to follow her to a training area, where there were some Namekians training, and soon everyone had their attention turned to the village guardian. Yamoshi said, "Benimaru, Kiranu, you two are going to fight these two Saiyans today. I want to see the level of power that these two Saiyans have when using the power of Super Saiyan God in the first stage. And I also want to know if you two haven't been taking it easy on your training lately," said the Saiyan while approaching two Namekians who possessed their green skin coloring like Yuhiko. Benimaru said, "We both haven't stopped training during these last 2 months, Master Yamoshi, and I guarantee that we are stronger than before," said one of the Namekians who had an iron spear in one of his hands. Kinaru said, "Telling you the level of our strength is useless, Master, but since you want us to fight these two Saiyans, we'll fight. But I'm sure we won't be able to face them if those two Saiyans use those forms they used against the elderly Yuhiko during the duel between them," said the second Namekian, who had a sword on his back. Kinaru was staring at Goku and Vegeta. Yamoshi said, "Don't worry, Kinaru. Goku and Vegeta will not use that form, but a transformation that they recently acquired. And judging by the level of strength that you and Benimaru had previously, you have a great chance of winning against these two Saiyans. But for that, you must fight with everything. And the same goes for you two, Goku and Vegeta. Yamoshi spoke while looking at the two Namekians, and then at the two Saiyans, and then all four warriors nodded in agreement. Goku said, "Since it's like that, then let's see how strong you two are," said the Saiyan, looking excitedly at the two Namekians. Benimaru said, "Let's see if you two are strong without using those transformations you learned from the god of destruction and his angel," said the spear using Namekian while looking at Goku, who had a big smile on his face. Goku and Vegeta, along with Benimaru and Kinaru, headed towards a small arena, attracting the attention of all the other Namekians, who ended up stopping their training to watch that fight. Goku and Vegeta were on one side of the arena, while Benimaru and Kinaru were on the opposite side of the arena. After a few seconds looking at each other, the four warriors began to increase their power. And with that, Goku and Vegeta transformed into the Super Saiyan God forms in the first stage, assuming the same appearance as before. And seeing that, Benimaru and Kinaru ended up assuming a different form. Benimaru ended up assuming a form in a golden tone, with red details on his body, and Kinaru was with a silver tone, with blue details on his body. After the duos transformed, both advanced towards each other. Benimaru ended up starting a melee fight with Goku, and Vegeta ended up starting a melee confrontation with Kinaru. While everyone was paying attention to the confrontation between the two Saiyans against the two Namekians, Yamoshi was watching the entire confrontation between them, analyzing the strength of those warriors. But it didn't take long for Yuhiko to appear beside Yamoshi, and by her expression it was clear that Yuhiko was bringing bad news. Yamoshi said, "Yuhiko, what happened? From your face, something bad must have happened. And if it's related to the Black Namekians, I don't even want to know, because I won't marry that arrogant idiot," said the ancestor of the Saiyans while looking at her friend, who approached her with short steps. Yuhiko said, "You showing a little of your power earlier was a bad idea," Yuhiko said while looking at the floor, not wanting to look at Yamoshi's face, who found that very strange. Yamoshi said, "Yuhiko, you know I hate it when someone is being mysterious. Say at once what you..." Yamoshi said before looking at Yuhiko's face, who had a cold and serious expression in her face. Yuhiko said, "He woke up again." Yuhiko said just with the sentence, Yamoshi's eyes widened because she knew very well who Yuhiko was talking about. Somewhere in the 7th universe. In one of the thousands of existing planets in the 7th universe, it was possible to see that a planet was being attacked by an extremely powerful enemy that had caused enormous destruction throughout the planet. At that moment, the being responsible for all that was sitting on a pile of rubble of a city he had destroyed. The mysterious being spoke. "It seems you are not on this planet, my dear sweet Yamoshi. I hope you release your power again. After all, I miss seeing my dear and beloved wife that I haven't seen for a while," spoke the mysterious being with a psychotic smile on his face, while his tail swung on one side to the other, showing that he was a Saiyan. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in the training arena of the village where Yamoshi lived, Goku and Vegeta transformed into Super Saiyan God first stage. At that moment, they were facing two Namekians called Benimaru and Kinaru, who were also transformed. Goku and Vegeta felt the divine energy that was being emanated from the body of those two Namekians who possessed the power of the deity. Benimaru and Kinaru possessed a divine energy similar to Yuhiko's, but it was very weak considering their power level. Further away from the arena was Yuhiko and Yamoshi, who were talking about a subject that made Yamoshi sad, because it was connected to her past, and the person she had loved in the past, and who now once again started to move, which left Yamoshi scared and angry at the same time. Yamoshi said, "Why did that damn thing start moving again so suddenly? That guy shouldn't go back to destroying everything in his path for no reason. Why did he go back to doing that?" said the ancestor of the Saiyans while clenching her fists, irritated. Yamoshi had to remain calm enough not to let her power be released, because the energy released from a Saiyan who is angry is higher than normal. Yuhiko spoke. "You know the answer to your question, Yamoshi. He returned because of you. When you decided to show some of your power to those two Saiyans, some of your power ended up going outside the barrier. I don't know if you remember, but you had defeated that man with a lizard body years ago. But he had managed to run off the planet, and you left a trail of energy in his body. And when you decided to release your power by sheer will, you must have made the energy that was in that guy's body awaken like a small flame. That was enough for that monster to feel her power and go to that planet, and like all the other planets, he ended up destroying everything and everyone he saw on that planet. Yuhiko spoke with a very serious expression on her face, and at the same time she had a cold expression, because she knew that the person responsible for having destroyed an entire race should be Hiroki, because that was his way of acting, and Yuhiko had already seen that several times. Then she would be able to recognize it very well. Yamoshi said, "So it means that once again Hiroki destroyed an entire planet just because of me? How many more times will this happen again? How many planets and people will be destroyed because of his blind desire for revenge? How many more families will cry because of my lack of courage to eliminate Hiroki in the past?" Yamoshi spoke in a sad tone. She was irritated for being weak enough to not be able to finish off Hiroki when it was possible in the past. Yuhiko said, "Don't blame yourself so much, Yamoshi. You know that bastard will do everything to make you go after him, and he will use that pure heart of yours to take you to him. So don't blame yourself so much. But I must say that you were quite an idiot for releasing your own energy to show those two how strong you are. You could have done it another way, but it's already done. So there's no point in blaming yourself, because that will only hurt yourself," said the old woman while looking at her longtime friend, who just sighed heavily, but soon Yamoshi put a smile on her face. Yamoshi said, "You're right. I'm not responsible for the bad things Hiroki has done over the years, and will do in the future. I just hope that in the future someone can stop Hiroki, and maybe it could be one of these two Saiyans," Yamoshi said, turning around and looking at Goku and Vegeta, who were facing Benimaru and Kinaru. Yuhiko spoke, "Those two? Hiroki is stronger than me. Those two Saiyans aren't even half as strong as us, even using all the power they have. So I don't think it would be a good idea to pin your hopes on Goku and Vegeta." Yuhiko spoke while looking at Goku and Vegeta, knowing that these two didn't even have half the power that Yuhiko possessed, and Hiroki is stronger than the Namekian Elder. Yamoshi said, "I know that. Goku and Vegeta can't hurt me in their current state, but I'm going to train those two Saiyans so that they master the true power of the Super Saiyan God. And after Goku and Vegeta finish off that Frieza guy, I'm going to make them both kill Hiroki. I train the two Saiyans without asking anything in return. When they complete their objective, I will offer them the chance to be even more powerful. But in exchange, Goku and Vegeta will have to eliminate Hiroki, and they will do that for sure. After all, they are Saiyans, and we Saiyans like to fight and get stronger. And I'm sure Vegeta and Goku will want to get stronger," said the Saiyan ancestor while looking at Goku and Vegeta with a slight smile on her face. Yamoshi remembered her past when she attended the Academy on the Saiyan planet. Yuhiko spoke. "So you're already planning how you're going to put an end to this once and for all? Well, if you really do that, you will be putting an end to what haunts you about your past. I think it will work after all. You Saiyans managed to evolve quickly, and even if Goku and Vegeta do not have enough power to defeat Hiroki alone, they will be able to defeat them together using the two Saiyans called fusion, I think. That's the name of the technique that the angel Whis told me about." Yuhiko spoke while bringing up one of her hands to her chin in a thoughtful way, because she didn't exactly know what it was called, the name of Goku and Vegeta's ultimate technique. Yamoshi said, "That's true. If they had used that fusion, they could have even broken your barrier without you having weakened it. But Hiroki doesn't know that technique, so if they face each other, Goku and Vegeta could end up winning against Hiroki. And with that, the same end, Vegeta would give Frieza. He would give to Hiroki." Yamoshi spoke with a more excited tone, because she would be able to train those two to finally end one of the biggest mistakes of Yamoshi's past. Yuhiko said, "Well, have you thought about what you're going to do after Hiroki is eliminated? Because I know that you still hadn't gotten married or even dated for fear of Hiroki finding out and going after the person you like. But if he's eliminated, that won't have any chance of happening," Yuhiko asked while looking at her friend, who ended up bringing both her hands to the top of her head. Yamoshi said, "I don't know yet, but I know that after Hiroki stopped being a burden on my life, I'm going to start living it for real. Maybe I'll try to find someone to form a new life with. Maybe I'll continue to live as free as I currently do, or I'll do something else. Until today, I never really thought about what I would do if I wasn't afraid of what Hiroki might do anymore. But when time comes, I'll figure out how to move on with my life," Yamoshi said while looking at the sky, and Yuhiko, seeing that, just sighed. Yuhiko thought, "As usual, you can't see a future with anyone or any family in your future. But after Hiroki disappears, maybe you'll be able to live your life the way you really want to, and the way you really deserve. I just hope the future is kind to you, old friend," thought the old woman while looking at the sky with Yamoshi. Yuhiko and Yamoshi looked at the sky calmly. None of them noticed the direction of Goku and Vegeta's confrontation with Benimaru and Kinaru. But soon a big explosion happened, and with that Goku and Vegeta ended up being thrown in the direction of Yuhiko and Yamoshi, who only realized what was happening when both Saiyans fell on their bodies. When the women were able to realize what was happening, they saw that Goku had fallen over Yamoshi's body, with his face in the middle of the chest of the Saiyan ancestor, and Vegeta had fallen between Yuhiko's legs, who upon realizing this ended up feeling ashamed, and Yamoshi just smirked. Yamoshi spoke, "You guys got bolder all of a sudden." Yamoshi spoke provocatively, while Yuhiko was embarrassed. Yuhiko said, "I'm going to kill you two perverted monkeys." Yuhiko said irritably as she got up quickly and at the same time released her aura, making Goku and Vegeta run away in fear of being beaten by the old woman who started running after them. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet that had been devastated by a Saiyan who destroyed the planet because he wanted to, it was possible to see the Saiyan was still present on the destroyed planet. The Saiyan in question was Hiroki, Yamoshi's ex-husband, who had gone to the planet with just one objective, which was to find his ex-wife and defeat her. But unfortunately for the Saiyan Hiroki, his ex-wife was not on that planet that was inhabited by beings with low fighting power. There were some exceptions among the beings that lived on that planet, but there were so few that it became insignificant to the face of the power that Hiroshi possessed. His corrupted Super Saiyan God form was something so ridiculous that Hiroki never would think of using such power. Hiroki is a powerful and evil Saiyan who had large upturned black hair that reached halfway down his back. Hiroki had gray eyes and a black beard. He wore 2 golden rings on his arms, and also wore a more noble outfit similar to that of the king, because that was how he saw himself before all other beings. Hiroki didn't lower his head even to the god of destruction. Hiroki spoke, "I really thought that today would be the day that I would meet my beloved Yamoshi again. But it looks like it won't be today that I will be able to meet her again. I felt her energy in a scar of one of the warriors of this world. And from that he told me that he was injured by a woman with long white hair, and she didn't have a tail. This shows that my beloved Yamoshi must be alive, and that her Saiyan tail hasn't grown since I cut it off in one of our last encounters." Hiroki spoke while looking at the city that was in ruins with several bodies everywhere, in addition to destroyed buildings and flames all over the city. Hiroki said, "The last attack of mine wasn't enough to kill that insect, and that's good for me. After all, if he faced Yamoshi, he might know where she is, or where she's been at least. And knowing Yamoshi, I know she must have gotten friendship with the people of the planet she lived on for a while. And she'll be very upset and irritated when she learns that all these people were eliminated by me. And if Yamoshi stops acting rational and is moved by anger, she will come after me. And with that, I will have my long-awaited reunion with my beautiful and wonderful Yamoshi, the woman who doesn't let me sleep even after many years since our separation. If Yamoshi only knew how much I still loved her." Hiroki spoke while looking at the sky from the planet. The silvery moon in the sky reminded Hiroki of Yamoshi's hair. Hiroki said, "This moon is as beautiful as my sweet Yamoshi's hair. She's so beautiful that I can't stand the urge. I have to destroy her completely," said the Saiyan before a spear of ki formed in his hand, and then was shot against the moon of that planet. When in contact with the Saiyan's attack, ended up destroying and generating a great shockwave that made the planet tremble. Hiroki spoke, "Now it's much better. Just like this moon. When I find you, my dear Yamoshi, I will destroy you with all my strength. And our next meeting will also be the last. And that I guarantee you, my beloved." Hiroki spoke while looking towards the destroyed moon with a very psychotic look, and at the same time letting out an evil laugh. Hiroki said, "Well, now it's time to chat with the guy who faced my beloved. He won't tell me anything about Yamoshi at first, but I think he'll open his mouth and tell me everything he knows when I'm going after his family. I'm sure this guy's family won't know anything, but maybe a little pain will remind them of something. And if no one talks, he'll have to see his family meet the same end as the rest of the planet. Maybe I can have a little fun if he has a wife and a pretty daughter. Well, I don't like to keep anyone waiting, so I'd better go soon," said the Saiyan before sighing and then flying towards the house of the being who faced Yamoshi in the past. and who now would be forced to say anything he knew about her. After all, he would have no choice. Hiroki thought, "The day of our reunion is closer than you think, Yamoshi, and when that happens, you will wish from the bottom of your soul to have eliminated me in the past, when I was still weak. Because now I am much stronger and I will definitely defeat you," thought the Saiyan Hiroki with an insane smile on his face. His eyes suddenly glowed in a bright wine-red tone. Now on planet Namek. Currently on planet Namek, more precisely in the village where Yamoshi lived, it was possible to see Goku and Vegeta sitting on the sand in a lotus posture under the hot sun. So hot that both Saiyans had their training suits extremely wet, with so much sweat. Yamoshi was together of Yuhiko under a guard because they didn't want to stay in the hot sun. Vegeta said, "Look, I know you said that everything we are doing is part of our training, and that includes me and Kakarot being under this extremely hot sun. But why are you wearing those clothes? And what happened to the clothes that you were using before?" asked the Prince of Saiyans as he opened one of his eyes and looked towards Yamoshi, who was drinking some kind of juice in a relaxed way while enjoying the shade that prevented the sun's rays from touching her skin. Yamoshi said, "You don't want to know why I'm dressed like that on a beach? Actually on a crystal clear lake, which is the closest we have to a beach," said the ancestor of the Saiyans before returning to drinking her drink. And after that, Yamoshi got up and removed a cloth that was over her body, revealing that she was wearing a bikini and mini shorts. Goku said, "Oh, this kind of clothing that Yamoshi is wearing is because of the training in hot places, isn't it? Every time I decide to train in places like this, Bulma and Chi-Chi wear these type of clothes. So it's normal for her to wear that, isn't it?" asked the Saiyan innocently as he opened his eyes and looked at his current master, who upon seeing that just gave a malicious smile. Yamoshi said, "Exactly, Son Goku. This outfit I'm wearing is to improve my performance in areas where the temperature is higher. That's why I'm wearing this outfit, and I left my other clothes at home," said the Saiyan ancestor with a big smile on her face, because Goku was very innocent, and that made Vegeta and Yuhiko look at each other and sigh at the same time. Vegeta thought, "Sometimes I'm surprised at how innocent Kakarot is. Goku has been married for years and has 2 children, and he didn't even know what a kiss was until the day he saw Trunks kissing Mai for her to swallow the seed of the gods. And now Goku doesn't even notice that Yamoshi is dressing that way simply because she wants to show her body. It's an attempt to conquer me or Kakarot, but I doubt that will happen. I'm faithful to Bulma, and I don't intend to cheat on her with anyone. And Kakarot is so innocent and slow, he doesn't notice Yamoshi's advances. So she certainly won't be able to make Goku fall in love with her. It's a brief and easy way to understand. Even Yamoshi trying her won't be able to make me and Kakarot like her. If it was, in the past, I might even like her. But that would be in the past and not in the present," Vegeta thought as he looked at Yamoshi and saw the shameless advances of the ancestor of the Saiyans. Yuhiko thought, "That's a big lie, Yamoshi. You're not just using the outfit because you want to show your own body to Vegeta and Goku. And that outfit doesn't help at all in combat," said the old woman mentally to Yamoshi, who ended up getting irritated with Yuhiko. The old woman just started laughing at the situation, and it didn't take long for everyone to start laughing, including Yamoshi herself. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in the time room where Goku and Vegeta were being trained by Yamoshi to be able to use the true power of Super Saiyan God, it was possible to see that Yamoshi was facing Goku. Vegeta watched the fight with some injuries showing that he had already faced the ancestor of the Saiyans, and now Vegeta was just resting. Yamoshi said, "Come on, Goku, show me that you can use the power of the perfect Super Saiyan God," said Yamoshi before hitting a kick on Goku that fell to the ground. Yamoshi then immediately advanced against Goku, who was on the ground. Yamoshi was going to perform a top-down kick, aiming at Goku's abdomen, when she was prevented by Vegeta, who ended up catching her, and Goku's attention. Vegeta said, "What the hell am I seeing? Yamoshi, you need to change your clothes now," said the Prince of the Saiyans with a red tone on his cheeks, while looking at the Saiyan's ancestor, who remained with her few clothes, and that made Vegeta feel ashamed to see Yamoshi fighting with those clothes. Elsewhere in Universe 7, Beerus had accomplished his mission given by the Daishinkan to eliminate strange beings that were invading all 12 universes, and after that mission, Beerus was on his planet, and it was possible to see Beerus and Whis in a room. Beerus was lying on a bed with several injuries from all over the body. These wounds were healing over time. All those wounds were made by the warriors coming from another dimension. Thanks to the crystal that Yuhiko had given to Beerus and Whis, they could find all the beings coming from that other dimension. And with that, Beerus ended up facing everyone. And not only that, but also eliminating all beings from another dimension, using his power of destruction, causing all these beings to have their existence completely erased. And how the attacks that Beerus received had a strange energy that Whis could not heal the god of destruction immediately, and not even the seeds of gods that Whis ended up picking up on the earth were useful at that moment. So Whis and Beerus would have to wait for that energy still present in Beerus's body and to disappear, so that Whis could heal the god of destruction. Beerus was annoyed with that, but he couldn't do anything to speed up his self-healing. Beerus spoke. I can't believe I ended up getting so badly injured because of those otherworldly being attacks. Those bastards were much stronger than I thought, and they all had characteristics of animals similar to those on planet Earth. And the worst thing is that one of them is still alive, because that being somehow managed to use the teleportation technique. And how weak was I that I couldn't go after him? And that being is somehow not being tracked by the interdimensional tracker that Bulma managed to create, said the god of destruction of the 7th universe, irritated by being injured by the enemy he faced still being alive, and by Beerus being so weak and to the point of not being able to go after that being at that moment. Whis said, You should focus on recovering soon to be able to go after that being from the other dimension that has the appearance of a white fox, similar to the god of destruction of the 8th universe, Mr. Likir. That warrior that you faced has some powers and different skills, and apparently those blue and white flames of his have the ability to cancel the regeneration of beings that are touched by them. Apart from the fact that these flames are very powerful, said the angel while cutting some fruits and putting them on a tray so that Beerus could eat. Whis was going to eat a few pieces too. Beerus said, Those damn flames that white fox can create are too strong, and they can even block my power of destruction. If it wasn't for his blue flames, I would have defeated him easily. But unfortunately, those flames managed to deactivate my power of destruction, and thanks to that power he used, that being didn't have his body disintegrate my power of destruction, said the god of destruction while remembering the fight he had against the being from another dimension that had a similar appearance to the god of destruction of the 8th universe. Beerus spoke. Thinking about those cursed ones coming from another dimension, the other gods of destruction already managed to defeat those who were in their universes or not, because Bulma had made several trackers and I had given them to you, Whis, so that you could hand them over to your brothers, so that the other gods of destructions could go after the beings from another dimension that were in their respective universes. They already ended up with them or not? Asked the god of destruction while picking up a piece of fruit, and at the same time looking at Whis. Whis spoke. Most of them, yes. Some are still missing, but there are a few enemies now. Champa and some others have already managed to eliminate the threat from their respective universes. Now, some like Quaitella still haven't managed to defeat all the beings from the other dimension. But apparently all the gods of destruction are trying to eliminate the beings coming from the other dimension. I would say that there is little left for us to finally get rid of this threat. Whis spoke calmly while looking at the sphere of his staff and showing Beerus the progress of each god of destruction in eliminating that threat, and there was very little left for everyone to finish killing the beings of another dimension, and that included Beerus himself, who still needed to eliminate one of them to complete his part. Beerus said, As soon as I recover, I'm going after the damn thing. Apparently the tracker is no longer capturing the interdimensional energy coming from that guy. It looks like the energy that was inside him ran out, so I'll have to go after him the old way. But now I know what his energy looks like, so it won't be so difficult to go after him, Beerus said before picking up some pieces of fruit and bringing it to his mouth to eat. Whis said, Mr. Beerus, are you sure you are the way you are just because you let that fox-faced guy get away? Or are you the way you are because of something else? Because I realize that you are a little strange. A few hours ago, it became easier to understand when we found Yamoshi, and she disappeared and reappeared in front of you, Whis said while looking at Beerus, revealing that he had already realized that his god of destruction was strange for a long time. The angel was wanting to know the reason for his strangeness. Beerus spoke. Looks like you figured out quicker than I was expecting. I'm weird that way because now that Yamoshi proved to be alive, I remember the dream of mine where I could face the Super Saiyan God. At that time I thought it was Yamoshi, but everyone thought she was dead, and I ended up settling in face on Goku. who had transformed into Super Saiyan God to face me. And after that, I decided to put that prophetic dream of mine aside. But now that I know that the first goddess of Saiyans is alive, I think that maybe in my dream it was Yamoshi who appeared, and not Goku, and that makes me want to face her. I don't know what will happen now, or if someday Yamoshi will try to defeat me. I know that she proved to be strong enough to do that. Beerus spoke in a serious tone, and cold at the same time, that he remembered his dream a long time ago, where he would face a Saiyan who had the power of a god. Whis spoke. So you're afraid that maybe the prophecy that you would face the Super Saiyan God in combat, where you could end up dying, is true, and that your lifetime in this world is ending? You're afraid that this can happen, isn't it, Mr. Beerus? Asked the angel Whis, looking at the god of destruction, who ended up turning his face to the other side, so that Whis would not look at his face. Beerus said, Yamoshi has already shown to be very powerful, and she hasn't even shown her true strength, which should be superior to mine in my current case. I'm afraid in relation to Yamoshi because I can end up dying if I face her. And even if I use my full power of God of Destruction, and even transform into my true divine form, I will not be able to defeat Yamoshi. After all, if she has already managed to reach the true power of a Saiyan, probably Yamoshi must possess not only the Super Saiyan God, but also the other Saiyan forms that Goku and Vegeta have. So I don't know if I could defeat Yamoshi, said the God of Destruction, admitting that he was afraid of having to face Yamoshi, and with that discovering her true power, which could defeat the God of Destruction, as the Saiyan ancestor appears to be stronger than Beerus. Whis said, I don't think Yamoshi is going to do something like that. After all, she was in the Namekian village for many years, and never had any interest in leaving to do anything. I would say that Yamoshi will not try to face you, Mr. Beerus, so relax and rest, because you need to recover to be able to go after that fox from another dimension, said the angel before getting up and leaving that place. Whis thought, really, Yamoshi didn't seem to want to face Mr. Beerus to be the new goddess of destruction. But I can't say the same thing about this Hiroki. From what Yuhiko told us, he is someone ambitious who's focused on Yamoshi. If Hiroki eliminates Yamoshi or changes his objective, Hiroki could try to face and eliminate Mr. Beerus to be the next god of destruction, and with that Hiroki could use me to get to Yamoshi, and I would be obliged to obey his orders. After all, my duty is to obey the orders of the god of destruction of the 7th universe, regardless of who or what the orders of this god of destruction are, thought the angel in a serious way, as he walked through the halls of the temple where Beerus lived, and at the same time, Whis took all his staff and saw the image of Hiroki, who looked towards the sky as if he were staring at Whis, and his smile made the angel believe that Hiroki knew he was being watched. With that, we end today's video. If you want to see the continuation of this incredible story, leave a lot of likes in the video and comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you another day, guys!